everyone. So, that sure was a song, wasn't it? I rediscovered that song the other day, and I thought it was ridiculous, so I wanted to share it with you all here today. Hope you're doing well. I thought, yeah, the ball-bearing bird. Do you know that song? Apparently, it was written by an Australian. That kind of that was news to me. I only know it from, like, I think it was Muppets Tonight, or Muppets, the Muppet Show, even one of those. Something by the Muppets. I just know they did a cover of it at one point. But anyway, we're doing something extra special today. It's permanently meshed into your mind now. Thanks, you're very welcome. Yeah, I'm not gonna soon forget it either. I was like, oh, well, what was that song? I was like, the bird has never been seen, has never been heard. I looked it up, found the original. I'm like, whoa, okay, that sure is a ditty, isn't it? All right, so today we're gonna do something a little bit different. And this may not be a stream for everyone. It's my first time doing this kind of stream. But I'm going to be working with 3 different languages. Because I have a bunch of homework to do. And it's mainly writing scripts for oral presentations for the end of the semester. But I also have one particular project due tonight. Which I'm not really interested in. So I thought, well, may as well do it in good company, and maybe you can learn a bit of Chinese while you're at it, and then I'm going to do a little bit of the old Russian as well. I did some Russian work today, and I have a presentation to prepare for with that. And I also need to decide on an essay topic for my social linguistics class. Like, why not use this rich resource of an audience I have to do my homework for me? Like, what's the point of having a platform if I can't get you to do my work for me? Ready to honk should the studying slip into poorly territory? Actually, yeah. I mean, given that I'm on stream, any time you're on stream, you will do worse than how you do normally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And, okay, first let me make a week 8 listening. Oh my God, I'm scared to show you my folder hierarchy. No, I can't show you my folder hierarchy because it will dox me. No worries. It'll just have to be a mystery. You'll just have to imagine how embarrassing it is. Okay, so I need to make a 2-minute sort of oral presentation in Chinese for tonight. I am using a Russian keyboard, which I don't want to be using. What was it? Oh, oral presentation. Yeah, whatever. Okay, mysterious Cav. Yes, mysterious indeed. You hated your 13 plus French exams? I mean, that's because you were doing French. Sorry, I have a thing against French, and it's completely unjustified. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you here. Go into game, but instead of game, we'll go to display capture. That is the correct display. Yes, cool. All right. Now I just need to minimize that, and then you can see this, right? And can you see also when I press Alt-Tab, can you see the different languages that I've got here? Yeah, you can. Okay, so I had to get rid of Spanish from my list of languages because it was just ridiculous having to like tab through them all. I've got a mouse and I have a mouse and I need to program it so that it automatically does it when I press a button rather than alt-tabbing. Hey there, it's just Eric. Oh, it's a nice, fresh, new, shiny name. Okay, so we're doing Chinese right now, aren't we? And this is to give you a bit of context, I studied traditional Chinese, not simplified Chinese. This course is in simplified Chinese. Actually, that's not really relevant. But basically, I studied traditional Chinese in Taiwan. And in Taiwan, this is going to be a little bit difficult. I think I've explained it on stream before, but if you're using a keyboard, right? So I'm just using a keyboard that is like a QWERTY keyboard, basically, for English. And the Chinese written system, when it comes to typing, in most places, it relies on pinyin, which tends to be based, it's like Romanized characters. So what you do, the idea is that, okay, let me show you. So I'm going to write my name in Chinese. Hua Mei Yi. Which, Hua Mei Yi, where does that come from? Well, I'll tell you what. It comes from, is it easier in Tai-Tua? Tai-Tu? Oh, I see what you did there. My brain. So Hua Mei Yi is not it's not what my name sounds like. You know my name, right? But when I was living in Japan, obviously I lived in Japan and spoke Japanese before I spoke Chinese, and this is my Japanese name. But like, so it's got characters. I've already got characters, but then and I got a little stamp that was made by a friend of mine, which had those characters in it, which are read differently. So it actually sounds like my name in Japanese, but when you take those characters and put them into Chinese, then it comes out Hua Mei Yi, which I think is kind of funny. So Hua is like my surname, and Mei Yi is my first name, even though it's not. Anyway, so as you can see here, Hua Mei Yi, it's not gonna, those characters aren't gonna be correct. Wait, let me do something. So hua. So to draw a picture, hua, I've typed in hua. I haven't put the tone in or anything, but because this is like a smart keyboard that I've got, and I'm getting to why I'm using this in a second. But yeah, you type in the characters, and then you press the number. So the correct one here, hua, is here, number 2. So I press number 2, and then it prints it out very, very smallly, in very small characters, I should say. Actually, let me just make the text bigger. 18. No, let's bring it. Let's make it big for all the kids back home, and let's also move my face down into the bottom right, so I'm a little bit out of the way. And why am I sort of to the side here? Why does this always happen? There. Is that better? Yeah, it's a little bit better. That'll do me. Maybe a little bit lopsided. Okay, so hua. That is to draw a picture. And I've just typed it in the characters, and it comes up on the screen. Most places in China, or most Chinese-speaking places, rely on pinyin when it comes to typing things in. However, Taiwan is different because it relies on a thing called bopomofo, which I think is adorable. But you know, in Japanese, let's go to Japanese. So Japanese, well, egaki is to draw a picture in Japanese. But anyway, so you see egaki. What comes up here is the phonetics. It's not the English characters. Like in when I was just writing hua before, it was coming up as just the English characters, right? With Japanese, when you type it up, it comes up as hiragana initially, and then you press the same thing, and then you can choose. But it uses the Japanese phonetic system in order to provide the basic, I guess, the bare bits, the bare sounds of the language. I hope I'm making sense. Please stop me if I'm confusing you.
Stop encouraging
Dumpy!
Doing things not so poorly. Who are you and what have you done? Why? Oh, it's language learning. Cav's final form. Cav hee hee.
Yes, it is. 17 months. Bloody hell. I've been streaming for a while. Welcome. Yeah, so we were just looking at how in with Chinese writing, when I'm hua hua. It comes up when I type in regular characters. But with Japanese, it uses the basic that. And with Taiwanese, they have their own system, their own writing system, which is like hiragana, which is called bopomofo, which I can't use because when I was taught Chinese in Taiwan, I was still taught in pinyin as the romanization. I mean, as the phonetic system, because I guess they considered it to be more accessible for English speakers, and I guess they were right. And also it's more largely used in mainland China now. But where I'm going with this is that, so bopomofo, the phonetic system, which is similar to Japanese hiragana, that it uses as the basis of the sounds, when it comes to a keyboard and typing things up, it goes by a bopomofo keyboard. It doesn't go with the QWERTY keyboard. So when I was looking for a way to type traditional Chinese characters, I used like the Windows system of Chinese. Most of them are all like simplified, because most Chinese speaking places use simplified characters. I wanted to use traditional characters, but the only places, I mean, there was Cantonese, which, you know, that's a different language, right? Which just happens to use traditional characters. But to get Mandarin with Taiwanese, like Mandarin with traditional characters, most of the input systems that are any good use bopomofo as their input. So I'd either have to learn bopomofo or I need to find some other way. And Taiwan speaks Mandarin, Taiwanese, and a bunch of indigenous languages. So it's taken me years. I found something that I thought kind of worked that was still like a Windows system, but like it claimed that it learned from your mistakes and things, but it just didn't. It was like, it was shit. It was so bad. There are so many characters to choose from in Chinese, and you type like something like if I were to type, for example, this hua hua, it wouldn't come up with to draw a picture, which would be the most obvious thing, because that's more likely to be the thing that you're saying. It would come up with like one character that says hua and one character that says hua, and it wouldn't be intuitive. It was just garbage, and it was just wasting my time. So then I asked my Chinese tutor, and she recommended this system, which is great, except it gives me bloody ads all the time, and it's changed my English language keyboard. I don't know why, and I don't know enough Chinese to be able to fix it. So it's given me a bloody United Kingdom keyboard, where if I press... Oh. Okay, well, that seems to have fixed itself. Okay, it doesn't... Every so often, when I press, like, speech marks, it won't come up until I've started typing something else. So like if I just want to add speech marks at the end, it won't put it down. And it won't put down I can't even explain it. It's just an arse. Ugh. Oh, work has this one adware installed. Malwarebytes keep complaining about it. Yeah, I can understand why. Like I've turned off all of the pop-ups and shit, because you can turn them off. You have to opt out of it. But a new one keeps, you know, like all of a sudden, apparently I'm subscribed to Chinese news that I don't care about. And then when it comes up, I need to say, don't show this again. So I'm going to have to do that for the rest of my life, probably. That moment when you rant about something not working and it does mid-rant. Oh, you appreciate the linguistic stream? Lovely. Well, you'll appreciate me doing my homework on stream. So to move on to my presentation, now that I've gotten that grumble about my Chinese language keyboard, which I'm sure was very entertaining for everyone involved, my work for today is I need to do a 2-minute presentation looking at a curriculum for primary school in Guangzhou in China. What is different from the Australian primary school curriculum? That was a long time ago, so I really couldn't say, what kind of education do you think primary students should receive and why? And so the issue here is that this is all simplified characters. And as I mentioned, I know traditional characters. I don't know simplified characters very well. So I'm going to need to look these things up. And I thought maybe it'd be good to show you how I do this thing. I wonder if there's a way to share my phone with you. That's probably quite risky, isn't it? I was going to say I could, because there are some phone apps that I use. I use Pleco as a dictionary tool. It's free with like paid add-ons, and the add-ons aren't subscription based. They're one-off payments, and they tend to be very good. So I recommend that. ANU is run by Julie Bishop, who, if the Nuremberg laws were applied today, would be hanged. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know much about ANU. I only joined up with ANU because they happened to be doing the 6-month course in languages. Okay, the Chomsky emo. Doing homework and relaxing from studying at the same time is some next level multitasking. All right, so let's learn some Chinese, shall we? So let me take you through my process here. So I know this is English. 英语, which in Japanese, if you're familiar with it, would be 英語, 英語, and 英語, and then 語文, 語文, I'm assuming is Chinese language because it's a study of language. So just like kokugo in Japanese is like country language. And this is something Ingyu, so something one. I don't know this character so well, so I need to look that up. Well, you know what? No, let's just start with the things that we know. This is maths. 数学. This is 口语. So speaking, so you've got the mouth there, and then you've got 5 mouths, and that's meant to be the radical for speaking as well. So there's a lot of language here, as well as some maths here. It's basically problem solving is Chinese. What else? We've got, in Japanese, it would be taiku. But in Chinese, it is 体育, I think. Don't judge me on this. But it's physical education anyway. And this is maths and lifestyle? Maths and life? What? 数学 and, I don't know how to pronounce that one, 生活. Maths and life? Okay. This would be some kind of dance, because that's the character for dance. This is like a lunch break. 午餐. 午休. I think it's 午休. Or maybe 午休. 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 I think it's 午休. Don't quote me on that though. We've got, that's like beautiful, because that's in my name, because I'm beautiful. Mei. And then that's like technology or something. So crafts? Let's take a little guess. We'll verify all this later on. But I hope you're having fun here. Let me know if you've got any questions about the language or what I'm doing or whatever. This is like 品, product, and 的, 品的. So product and 的 is like, it can mean Germany. It can also mean wise. So I'm not really sure what that is. That is science. So I think it's 科学, 科学, or is it 科学? 或 something. That is like, a chill is like baseball, football, because that's foot. I'm absorbing none of this, but it's still interesting. I'll see you later, DXVIET4. And please feel free to have your own conversations while I'm doing this. At the moment, yeah, this is my first time doing like one of these kind of streams, so I'm not sure how effective it's going to be. That's music. Is it 音声 maybe? 音声. I'm looking at all this, my brain is just constantly nope. Chinese is so cool though, like especially if you're from a Japanese speaking background, then accessing Chinese after that is just like, whoa, it's like the characters, but they're actually used in a way that makes sense. The right panel looks like maths, am I right, fellow maths haters? Okay, so I wish I could share with you my Plecker. I feel like that would be a much more interesting experience, so you can kind of see how I'm looking these things up. So what I might do is IP webcam. That's not going to show what's on the screen. So let me do I want to learn Japanese for a while now, but I'm really bad with other languages and I feel Japanese could be over my head. I don't know. As a spoken language, there's some sentence structure things which take a little while to get used to, but it is a relatively easy spoken language to pick up. Like pronunciation wise, the pronunciation is pretty, like, very few exceptions into, and that's just with enunciation. It's not about pronunciation. The sounds are always the sounds that they are, pretty much. Like, it's not the easiest language in the world to master, but I think it's probably one of the better languages to start learning. It's quite accessible, I think. And also there's a lot of media out there. Like, if you're into anime, manga, video games, that sort of thing, then it makes it so much easier to access. So, yeah, that's one thing that it has going for it. I find that if a language doesn't have a lot of cultural influence, it's a lot more difficult to be able to sort of stay engaged with it. Like Indonesian, I studied for 5 years. I'm picking it up now, and
stop encouraging Cav.
And it's all right.
One Cav is studying excellently. One.
Thank you, Diana Jack. Thanks for resubscribing. You should stream Ghost of Tsushima in Japanese after your homework. Oh dear. So I'm gonna look up screen share phone to laptop. Actually, Shuklia, my friend Shuklia, is thinking of going into streaming, and she's also studying interpreting. So she had the idea, I mean, she wanted to like live stream movies, which is going to be a copyright infringement. I was telling her that there are plenty of Japanese games that haven't been translated yet, of popular franchises. Like there's a few Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games that haven't been translated that I've been actually thinking about live interpreting myself, but I'm too scared. And yeah, a bunch of games, and what else? Comics as well, like webtoons. She could, like, she's into webtoons, so she could do that. I told her there'd be an audience for it. It'd be really good, I think, for people to supplement their language learning and for her to practice her interpreting. How to cast your Windows or Android display to a Windows device. I'm going to open that in a new tab. How to show any phone screen on a Windows computer. Your phone for Windows 10. In 2018, that's not looking good. Screencasting. No, this is too much. No, I don't like all this. This is too much. Wait. How to cast from an Android device. But no, I need to use like some Miracast thing. Cast? Protected content? You'll have to leave. No, this is too much. I'll just look it up myself, if that's okay. So you can see what I'm doing here. You can see that I'm looking at my phone. Isn't this the same thing Diana showed you? No, that one shows, I don't think you can, wait, let me see. I don't think that you can share your screen itself. I think you can share your camera, what your camera sees. But let's have a little look here. Local broadcasting, maybe? Cloud streaming? Let's double check, huh? How do I connect actions? Run in background, share IP, disguise video preview. No, that's not going to do it for us. Ah, well. Maybe for next time, if I decide to do this kind of thing again. There's a really famous in Japan Swedish artist that makes comics about being a Swede in Japan. I personally don't know if it's any good, but it's hugely popular. Oh, interesting. Convey what you see to us via telepathy. I promise it'll work. Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm opening up Plecker. I don't think you could. I really wish I could just share this with you. It would be so fun. So I'm gonna look up this character here. something flag, something. I think it's probably just like an assembly. So let's take a little guess, shall we? The middle character looks like the character. It's similar for the character for flag. And then the last one is used for like an address or term of politeness. So I'm going to make a little guess. Yeah, raise the flag. Hey, look at me. Nice. And now we've got ban hui, which I'm guessing is like, so ban is like team and hui is meeting. So ban hui, I'm going to assume is just like, what do we say in English? Like a homeroom, I think in some places it's called. Then we've got the yuan, which is Chinese. Yingyu, English, yuan, Chinese. Okay, this is the other one that we were stuck with, wasn't it? So let's open up Pleco again. And I'm drawing the character with my hand, with my finger. Homeroom is like roll call, right? Yeah, that's it. So let's figure out what that is. Okay, Lang Wen Yingye. What the hell? Lang Wen Yingye. Let's open up my favorite Google Translate. You know what? I feel like Google Translate gets a bad rap. I feel like it's good if you know how to use it. And how to use it is to not put in, loads of text and expect it to come up with perfect sentences. Yingye. Longman English. Yeah, that doesn't help us, does it? Longman English. What? Is it just looking at a dictionary? Longman English. This is bizarre. Okay, well, I'm just going to ignore that. I'm going to pretend that doesn't exist. I don't understand it, so I don't like it. Remember when I said that Google Translate isn't gets a bad rap? I think that actually was what it was, and we just need to know more context to know what it is. Long I remember that. So then we've got more Chinese, spoken language, maths, language, spoken. We've got Longman English, maths, Longman English, maths. This seems like it might be religion. I hate this character in simplified Chinese. There's like a whole bunch that don't look anything like the traditional characters. Like most of them, they're slightly different. So like, let's look at Yu, Han Yu, the Yu. So compare this, yeah? So that character and this character are the same. I'm writing in traditional characters. This is simplified. So it's pretty much exactly the same, except the radical on the left, if you can see here, is just like a straight line down. To simplify it. Oh, that's why it's called that. Okay, so most of the time they tend to be quite similar, but then you've got things like Tou. I don't know what that one is. It's like, so let's Mai. Du. Okay, so these characters don't really look, I mean, these two are a little bit similar. Actually, no, they've all got the same sort of like radical of the clam shell. So like the three rectangles on top of each other with the two stems, that basically means clam, which was basically used to represent currency back in Old Chinese. So most things to do with currency or finance or whatever, there's often, well, not most, but there's often that radical somewhere in the character making it up. But yeah, let me show you what the same thing looks like in simplified characters, and this really pisses me off. So let's go into simplified characters. So we've got Toll. That's Toll. My. That's my. My for cell. Du. Like, what are they playing at? I hate this character. Like, this radical really makes me angry because it looks nothing like the traditional. You know, like, oh god. So anyway, I don't know what this one is because it's obviously not on my list. It's got a thingy on top. It's got a little thingy on top. So there's one that I'm missing out on that I've forgotten. So let's have a look-see. It's not just a struggle of a multilingual, it's a struggle of someone who clearly learned it one way and expects things to be simple. So, okay, so let's have a look at this character here. I'm going to type that into my dictionary. So it's got a little hat on top. It's like, yeah. Okay. Sounded like a goat. Okay, so that's shi. Let's have a look at what that looks like in normal characters, shall we? And when I say normal, I mean, you know, I'm not being serious. Whoops. Shi. So there, that is. I'm so angry. So basically, I need to think of some way to remember these characters because they're the ones that are going to make me trip up and fail my exams. Nothing else. I'm fine with everything else. It's just this bunch of characters with this radical that I don't really understand. So I'll put that down the bottom. So anyway, the one in that instance was shi, which means like reality or fact, apparently. So let's double check what that is. So religion, fact? Typing that in with my finger here. Okay, we've got 综合, comprehensive, 综合, and then 实 something. So comprehensive fact something. Let's put that in and then hope that it doesn't. Oh no, I put it in wrong. No? 实践. Comprehensive practice. Okay, so that doesn't help us. Yay! Thank you, Chinese. Comprehensive practice. I've just pissed off some 2010 YouTube New Atheist Skeptics by searching religion and fact. Oh, you're doing homework too, Diana Jack? I hope this isn't making things worse because I'm grumbling and you're grumbling, presumably, over your work. So now we have maths and lifestyle, which I don't understand. This here is like some kind of dance, I'm going to guess. So let's verify. So I'm going to write oo for dance. Why isn't it coming up? Oh, I've got some issues with this dictionary, actually. Okay, this is the same character for dance. It's used in like, I think, kabuki in Japanese. There's a lot of crossover between Japanese and Chinese. Like, Japanese sort of like alternates between whether it wants to use the simplified character, whether it wants to use the traditional character, whether it wants to use something else. It's one of those fun ones. Yeah, Wu Dao. Wu Dao is dance. So they have dance class. What else? Language. That's like development. So I'm guessing it's language development. A lifestyle? What is that? Do rich people have those? How do you say gay in Chinese? I'm gonna guess and then I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna think that it is tong xing. Tong xing. Or is it tong xing? Let me double check in Google, because thankfully Google has the terms. Tong xing. Yeah, there we go. Tong xing. There you go. Let me get rid of that before the Chinese government gets wind of what I'm doing and censors me. There's probably slang for it as well. I don't know, what would be appropriate slang, as in like positive slang, and what would actually be derogatory slang. But that's the technical term, 同性, which is like same sex, basically, same sex. I wish Japan only used hiragana and katakana. It would be so much easier to learn, definitely. Although, I found that the more Japanese I learn, I can't read... If a text were written in hiragana and katakana only, I wouldn't actually understand it. I think the more kanji that you learn, the easier it becomes to not actually learn how to read the characters or how to say them, but you just sort of understand from looking at them. At least that's my translator perspective. How's China on gay rights? Do you really want to ask that question? It's not very good. It's not very good. I mean, I've never been to China, but like my friend was telling me, so China uses WeChat, which is I'm just going to keep doing looking up terms while I talk. So WeChat is a social networking thing that they use instead of like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or whatever. And it's basically state sanctioned now. Like, in order to, like, it's connected to your social security. It is what you need to pay rent, utilities, to, like, it has all the details of your credit rating. Basically, it's your life and your social networking. And as a result, like, China has complete control over what you say, and they have been censoring buzzwords. So like how it works from the research that I did is that if you say a flagged term, the message will not be received by the person. So you can think that you've sent it, but they'll have no indication that you sent it. You'll have no indication that they didn't receive it. And eventually the idea is, I guess, that people stop talking about these things. Oh, good night, Darwin Lowe. Hope you sleep well. But yeah, it's very, very admirable in a really evil way, in the same way that I really admired, don't admire, like AKB48, the manager of the Japanese band, like the whole concept of AKB48 is so cynical. It's just like, you kind of have to respect the audacity of just how awful it is. Oh my god. Feel the same way about there's a lot of that stuff. Okay, so we have confirmed that this is indeed painting. So primary schools in Australia, does anyone have any idea? Primary education in Australia? I haven't been to primary school in a long time. Yeah, and that's language development, so I didn't really need to look up anything at all. Oh wait, this one down here and that one, I guess. So, 品德. Let me just try writing it. 品德. No. Not 平等. Any primary schoolers in chat? No, that's not the one that I want. I just want regular 平. Thank you. 平. I'm just going to keep saying the word until the answer comes up. I hope that's entertaining for you. 品德. Oh, I was typing 品, not 品. Moral character. Oh. Okay, that's an interesting class. 品德. I'm definitely going to be writing about that. And looky here, same character in traditional characters as it is in simplified. It's a nice change. This is is that the language learning stream? Yes, I know. You've heard from near and far about it, and I decided to go ahead with it. So, it's a language learning stream for me. It's not where you learn language. It's where I learn language and you watch me. And that's just activity. This is so vague. I don't know what to make of it. So, we had religious ed in primary school. Yeah, that's true. That's true. We did too when I was in primary school. Okay, that's something to write about. So the idea is, okay, what is different from the primary school, Australian primary school curriculum? 在澳洲 In Australia, this is just meant to be 2 minutes and then I'm meant to record it afterwards. I want to say it's been a long time since I've graduated from primary school. But I can't think of the way to say it in good Chinese. Oh, I'm happy you joined it too, Hazardius. Welcome, welcome. Your name in Chinese is Ali Kexin. Oh, I may have pronounced it incorrectly. Actually, your name in Chinese is always going to be 3 characters, unless you've got a Japanese name. So it's probably going to be just the first 3 characters. So it'd probably be Ali Ke is your name. Hey there, Blake Spake. We're learning some Chinese. Just say you're old. Schools in Northern Ireland are still segregated by religion and gender? At least secondary schools are both, but primary schools are just religion. Right? Yeah, we still have gendered schools as well, but and yeah, actually we still have religious schools as well. But you know, we also have general schools that aren't religious. Ma Ding is yours? Oh. Who was the prime minister when you were lost in primary school? I think it would have been John Howard. Because he was around for ages, wasn't he? 在澳洲小孩子 children 应该学除了 wait okay, let's say 除了 besides 英文数学和 let's say wait now I need to wait no it's 体育 that's my Japanese getting in the way. Wait no 声语 wait what 身体 is that seriously no I'm getting the sinking suspicion that this character and this character down here are meant to be the same, and I refuse to believe it. I'm getting very nervous. Let's have a look in my dictionary. Yeah, sorry, that was very loud. This character here is meant to be the same character as this one. What? Oh, okay, right. My camera is covering. Oh, why is my face always in the way? Let's move it back up. Maybe that's gonna be okay. Sorry. This character. Wait, where are we? This character here, right? The one that I'm circling, is the same as this character. This character is the same as that character. It's nothing in common. Like that says bone. Like the left-hand side is bone. And the left one here is person. And then like root. Person root. And this one is bone bean. Bone bean. Oh, we have fun together. Okay, so 体育 apparently means physical education. 体育和 so physical education and 科学 Wait, or is it 科学? Yeah, 科学. Okay, 在澳洲 in Australia, 除了英文、数学、体育和科学 besides English, maths, physical education, and science, 小孩子应该学 children must learn. Wait. 差不多 Okay, let's do 差不多都小孩子 So almost every No, 每一个差不多每一个小孩子应该学 So almost every single child must learn religious studies. So Oh, you're going to appear on Democracy Now! Nice! Oh, that's awesome. Best of luck. That should be very fun. I don't know what Democracy Now! Is, but it sounds good. Best of luck. Oh, wait, oh, I see you're a character. Sorry, I'm so focused on this task that like my good humor chip is just a little bit faulty right now. So, religious studies. Yeah, he's sort of like he is decent in linguistics, although I really am a bit iffy on his sort of universal grammar concept, and it's a bit old now. Democracy Now! Is a leftist news channel. Oh, I see. Noam Chisel has graced us with his presence. Okay, so oh wait, no, I'm not looking up in Google. God. Yeah, Google Translate, do not, if you're trying to find how to say something in a language, don't use Google Translate. Only use it when back translating, if at all. Because what you want Google Translate for is to reaffirm what you already suspected about something. So it's like, well, I think this means blah. I put in a thing, well, that's a little bit different. I think that it's probably still right. Or, you use your own judgment. It's a good critical tool for confirming what you already believe. It's not so much a good thing for coming up with things from scratch. And that's my translator seal of my translator guarantee. Well, I mean, you haven't paid me money. Oh wait, the subscribers have paid money. Damn. Okay, so it's not a guarantee. All right, so let's look up religious education in Chinese, and then maybe we'll get a Wikipedia article. Oh, Collins Dictionary is generally quite good, I find. Yeah, I mean, that's religion and that is education. Like, it's the same in Japanese, so it's always good when you can sort of refer back to Japanese. Like, yeah, that's it in Japanese, so. So tiny. So how do I say that again? 宗教教务. 宗教教务. All right. We're not paying you or supporting. That's a good way of thinking about it, Eric. Thank you. Okay, so 在澳洲除了英文、数学、体育和科学，差不多每一个小孩子应该学。Was it 宗教教育？was it 宗教教育。In Australia, besides English, maths, physical education, and science, almost every child must study religious education. I feel like maybe it should just be 学. This is what happens. I start overthinking. So now I'm going to write 学 and see whether that comes up as anything. Religious studies. Yeah. Okay, so that works. Good thing I looked it up. because they're not themselves studying religious education. They are studying religion. So 宗教学 makes more sense. Chomsky told well-known talk show host Ali G that he wished he was multilingual but wasn't. French, I wouldn't study French. It seems too hard for me. And I say this as a speaker of Japanese and Chinese. Yeah, China is basically secular. Like there are Confucian temples. Actually, no, I shouldn't speak on mainland China because most of my experience in a Chinese context has been in Taiwan, which is a little bit different. And they have a lot of Taoism and Confucianism in, like, they have Confucian temples and Taoist temples. And I don't know enough about either of them to be able to tell you whether that counts as a religion or whether they're secular beliefs. I mean, definitely Confucianism is more secular leaning. Taoism in Taiwan, I believe, has sort of like absorbed a lot of the local customs as well. So it's probably more likely to be a religious-based thing as well. It's fascinating. Taoist temples are just mind-blowingly gorgeous and complex, and just Taoism, the more you learn about it, the less you know. Mao is pretty much a cult. This seems super hard to me. The letters are so confusing to look at when you don't know anything about them. Yeah, I can understand that. One thing that's interesting to do, I think, personally, is just to look at the repetitions here. So we're looking here at, in Australia, besides English, the study of maths, physical education, and the study of science, almost every child must study religious studies. So you can, sort of see a few common things here. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've not understood Chinese characters. I mean, Chinese/Japanese, that sort of character system. So it's a little difficult for me to put myself in that context. If there's anything you want me to explain, just let me know. You should do a Chinese calligraphy stream. That would be ace. Oh God, my calligraphy is so bad. My handwriting is just awful. I can handwrite in Chinese maybe, but I won't be able to do calligraphy. I'd love to. That'd be really fun. So I don't know what else to say. I meant to talk for 2 minutes, but I don't care about Chinese primary school or English primary school. Even spotting that they're the same symbol takes a lot of concentration. Right. Can I highlight all these at the same? No, I can't. And also, this is the simplified. The traditional character. The simplified equivalent is this one here, which takes a lot of the janky stuff off of the top. So what's been difficult for... Well, this is actually the same character they use in Japanese. So actually that's all right. And that's also the same character. That's sugaku in Japanese, but 数学 in Chinese, Mandarin. Love the experimental... Oh, God! Thank you, Alphonse M, for pointing that out. Jesus. Yeah, you'd be surprised. And I don't know, Diana Jack, do you know this character here? And maybe this one? Because these are also the same in Japanese in terms of what they mean. And this one here, we've got there's like a time of day. You could probably, I'd imagine you'd get more of that curly hair and frame. Yeah. It must be interesting as someone who studied Japanese. It was fascinating for me just being like, I can understand these ones and I don't understand those. Okay, so what else do we need to talk about? That's all I can think of. What is different from the Australian primary school's curriculum? What kind of education do you think... I want to say one more sentence maybe about what they have in China. Well, in this school that they don't have in Australia. What was it? There was behavior, right? Which one was that one? Behavior was... this one. 品德. Yeah, well, why don't I try and see... I'll look in the Collins Dictionary. Oi. Where can I write? let me...英文 character morality, moral character. Okay. Maybe I can say 可能在中国 So 中国 being China, and 在澳洲 in Australia, 在中国 in China. This is maybe 可能, and readers of Japanese might actually understand this as well. 可能 possible. We've got the possibility for, we've got the word for the character for possible and the character for ability here. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to say perhaps in China they study 品德 instead of religious education. 小孩子 so children, 替 instead of, 宗教学 I'm saying 学 a lot. Okay, and now this is something that I do as well with Google Translate. This is where I back translate. So in Australia, apart from English, mathematics, physical education, science, and this is just to make sure that there's some flow, because it tends to at least generally make decent sentences. So you can see, okay, my sentence structure is probably okay, like possible. Almost every child should, well, this is actually must, so I don't think that needs to be changed. Maybe in China, children learn morality, it should be T, so that instead of, substitute, take the place of. So even though the English here is a little bit junky, because I know what I'm going for here, I can see, okay, well, it's more or less what I wanted, and I know that Google has made mistakes here because I know how to use this particular grammatical pattern. Yeah. Oh, welcome back, DXVIE84! My last boyfriend was Chinese. He showed me a video of his primary school aged cousin doing some sort of military performance. That was culture shock for me. Oh goodness. It doesn't mention that here, although there is a dance class, so I wonder whether that is actually military dance. And this 2 minutes, so let me time myself. 在澳洲除了英文、数学、体育和科学，差不多每一个小孩子应该学宗教学。可能在中国，小孩子替宗教学学品德。Well, that's 10 seconds. Probably 20 seconds. God, what am I going to say? I don't really care about this topic, and I've got like a much more interesting thing to write about. Like, this is just meant to be to show that I attended the tutorial. So, like, I'm not even getting graded on this. I'm just getting, okay, well, they read through the materials. What I really want to work on today is, wait, no, that's my Russian. I'm going to be doing a presentation in a group of 3 people where we had to choose out of a bunch of different topics. And one of them, let's go through them. They were quite interesting. So we've got, let me just translate this for you. So it's talking about the difference between the perspectives on, like, the differences in terms of address and formality between China and I guess the West. It says China and the West, because we learned in one of our classes that until quite recently in China, using terms of endearment like darling and that kind of thing were something that were pretty restricted to the person who you were in a relationship with, and even then you wouldn't say that much, whereas in the West we tend to say darling, love, baby, which I hate, things like that, quite liberally. So they're asking us to talk about that, which not really interested in myself, given this is the demisexual and me like, I wouldn't say anything for anyone. The next one was an interesting one, which I was considering, which is about women's liberation, basically. This concept of 半边天, which is women holding up half the sky, like saying that women contribute just as much to society as men, so they should be recognized for that. Which seems to be probably the best thing to come out of the Chinese Confucianist regime, is that it had a dramatic overhaul in the position of women and the status of women. So despite all the atrocities and all that, like, it is also responsible for doing something. It's kind of like Winston Churchill, he did like one good thing during World War II, but also everything else that he did in his life was really horrible and shit, and he was a hateful human being. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's that one good thing and you hate it because it's like you don't want to talk about it, but you have to admit some good stuff happened. Anyway, so so this, we had a topic where we were looking at the changing status of women in China. The Bengal famine, don't even get me started, and like the potato famine as well, to a certain degree, I think. Well, not Churchill personally, but England. Anyway, so the second topic here was looking, like, the question is women's liberation. Like, is there a conflict between women's liberation and women's self-identity as individual people? Like, does women's liberation come with extra responsibility, which and about how they identify themselves? Does it have some kind of a conflict? And I thought that was an interesting topic personally, not because like I'm interested in talking about, like, I don't know, I find feminism, it's a depressing topic because we can't really say, oh, we're there. But what was interesting about this one, I think, is because I feel like it would have been an interesting opportunity to talk about the fact that women's liberation has not given women equal status to men. It has given them more responsibilities and more pressure to do more things while still keeping all of their old roles. You know what I mean? I feel like the way that it's sort of turned out in practice is that, a lot of men aren't willing to share the burden of, and I guess society as well. We still expect women to be mothers, wives, that sort of thing. But now, because of, women's liberation, we've got it, we're expected to be able to do all of these things equally. It's not like we get to choose. I mean, ideally, we should be able to choose between different things and have, partners who will be able to share the load and sort of support, everyone with, support each other with their own sort of individual things. Reject modernity, embrace tradition. That's not what I'm saying, leave me alone. But I think it's something that we can't deny. Like, we need to say that the way that it's turned out is to force women to either take on everything or go back to where we were, because the rest of society isn't willing to adjust to, to make the load a little bit easier. We're just saying, okay, well, you should be able to achieve a job too. I mean, we're still going to make you do all the things. And also we're not going to pay you as much either because, oh, you see, you've got all these other responsibilities as well. We don't really want to invest that much into you because, in the end, you're still a mother, you're still a wife, that sort of thing. So I feel like there's still a lot of stuff that we've not really engaged with as much as we should in society to be able to ensure that women's equal status in society is actually equal status in society, and not just, okay, well, do this stuff as well. What did I mean? I'm not talking about tradition. I think tradition's bad too. I'm just saying that we... Oh, please, someone tell me you know what I mean. Anyway, I thought that would have been an interesting thing to talk about. Just the idea that liberation is more than just saying you can do these things. It's about providing the support network or the backdrop to be, and the environment for people to be able to take on these new roles. I think people are just teasing me too, but my brain goes very much into like literal mode when I'm doing language related stuff, so please excuse me. You're all very kind. So next up we've got 求职, searching for work. So we've got our experience when searching for a job, and also pressure inside the family with regards to finding work. So parents wanting you to become an accountant when you want to become this or whatever. So that could have been something which, again, is really boring to me. It was kind of like that one's boring. Oh no, that one's kind of cool. That one's boring. Kind of cool. Yeah, it's definitely a variant of, okay, you're no longer oppressed, you're free, goodbye, good luck in capitalism. Yeah, obviously, it's a lot more intersectional than that, in the sense that, plenty of former slaves were women as well. So, they've got that extra sort of baggage of, not only are you a woman in society, but you were also previously a slave and you have no familial wealth. Good luck with that. Welcome to capitalism. Jesus Christ. Oh, it's a mess. Anyway, the next topic was the Spring Festival, aka Chinese New Year. So talk about your Chinese New Year experience, or compare the differences between Chinese New Year and the Western New Year. That one's kind of boring. And at first I was sort of veering against it, but then I remembered that my Chinese New Year in Taiwan would be really fun to talk about, because a lot of people are coming from a mainland China context. And as it turns out, out of the 3 people in the group, there's me, who spent Chinese New Year in Taiwan and had a certain experience. There's one person who has spent Chinese New Year in Malaysia and has an experience with that and how it's done in Malaysia. And there's one person who lived in Beijing for a while. And so they sort of have a sort of more mainland China experience. So we can sort of rather than comparing the differences between Chinese New Year and Western New Year, we can talk about Chinese New Year and the differences between how it's celebrated in our different contexts, which I think that's what we've gone for in the end, which is why it's bolded out. You can see here can you see how there's some characters here that are bold and some characters that are just not? The reason for that is because, for some reason, traditional characters work really well, but Chinese characters end up getting really gross. So all of these are specifically, actually no, I think that one's also simplified. But a lot of Chinese simplified characters just end up sort of looking weird in bold text, and I don't understand. Oh, yeah, COVID-19 was something that I didn't want to talk about with regards to topic 3, looking for work and all that. It would just make me think of being a freelancer in COVID, which has not been a non-depressing thing to talk about, so I decided not to do that. The right here has been kicking up a storm about the word intersectional this year, so now the term is taken out of some official state stuff? Oh, that's garbage! It's such a useful term, and people don't really understand it. So at least make sure you know what it means before you start grumbling about it. Jeez. I'm not going to respond to the thing that people are talking about in chat. Not because I don't think it's a fun topic to talk about, but because for the purpose of the VOD, I feel like people would rather not hear me blabbing on about it and doing what everyone else is doing. But yes, feel free to have a nice little Schadenfreude in the chat there. If they knew what intersectionality meant, they wouldn't be able to tell themselves they had a reason to grumble. Isn't that always the way? The next topic that we've got here is Kongiji, which is so this is kind of silly, right? It's probably one of my only gripes with this course. I find that overall, compared with the horrible Russian textbook that I'm doing, the cultural element of this textbook is really good. And one of the subjects that we had to look at was Kongiji, which is a short story by what's his name? Lu Xun, I think is his name. Lu Xun, who was one of the most famous contemporary leftist Chinese authors, who wrote a lot of satirical works back in the day. And Kongiji is one of his satires. And for for our piece of writing that we had to analyze, as we have to do for every session, we didn't read a bit of Kongiji. We read a dialogue about someone talking with someone else about how Kongiji is so difficult and the language is really hard and I don't understand it. Please explain this sentence. And the sentence is, I think, like the first sentence of the book, which is basically that Kongiji is standing at a counter wearing a long, I think it's called a qiangshan, like a long gown, drinking alcohol. And it's like, what does this mean? Does it have a special meaning? And it's like, oh, yeah. And then you get this really interesting, admittedly, like deep sort of analysis of that one sentence. Like the fact that it says apparently a lot about him, because in those days, if you were rich, you could sit down at like in restaurants and pubs and, well, the equivalent of pubs, and drink and eat and whatever. But if you were poor, you had to stand by the counter. And so Kongiji is poor, so he's standing up. However, he's wearing a qiangshan, I think that's how you pronounce it, the long gown. And this long gown was worn by basically rich people or intellectuals. So what it says about Kongiji in that one sentence is that he thinks of himself as an intellectual, but he's not rich. So he still has to, like, he's not able to just sit with the others because he's not rich. He has to stand, but he's still putting on the clothes as if he's rich. So it's actually quite a deep sentence. But like, that chapter, that's all that we know about Kongiji. And then like all of the questions we had to do for our assessment task that week was like, describe the story of Kongiji. We only know the one sentence. I don't know shit about Kongiji. I don't know what he does after he's standing at the counter drinking whatever, wearing a long gown. Like, what do you want from me? And so over here now, like question 5, they want us to do a whole 15-minute oral presentation. Sorry, 5-minute oral presentation where the three of us are presenting the story of Kongiji. What are we gonna do for 5 minutes? We're just gonna say, oh yeah, he's standing there, all right. Yeah, check out Kongiji in his qiangshan. What's he doing? He thinks he's an intellectual, but he's not. He's actually not very rich at all. But like, he's doing it anyway. Oh my god! Like, what? Anyway, I don't understand it. I don't understand why we're meant to know so much. Like, apparently in the story, there's this whole thing about him going around mocking all the poor people while he's standing up, and then he steals a book because it turns out he wanted to be an intellectual, but he failed the entrance exam to be able to get into like university. So because of that, he has no chance of being an intellectual, and he has no money, and he stole a book, and then so he could read, and he's like trying to talk his way out of it, saying, no, I didn't steal it. I just borrowed it, you know. So he's trying to do a sort of Brer Rabbit kind of thing. But he gets caught, and then he gets beaten to death. And I think that's the story. So like, But in this thing, all that they know that we understand at this point is that he's standing at a counter in a long gown drinking beer. Somehow we're meant to be able to talk for 5 minutes about it, you know? I don't think intellectual and poor are mutually exclusive terms, to be honest. Yeah, no, it's not. But like in this context, apparently, like education and wealth were kind of tied hand in hand. I mean, it's still largely the case, I think, in many places. But like, for you to be able to pass that test, you needed to have the wealth to be able to afford tutors and things. Is my understanding. So, but yeah, it's interesting because it's looking at like he's criticizing the author is criticizing a point in Chinese history. He was like a big leftist, and was part of the revolution. The May the 4th movement, I think. Was the beer any good? I have no idea. But yeah, anyway, so that's Kong Yiji. I'm definitely not going to be doing that for my oral presentation because I only know the one sentence. The next one is shopping. So present how to barter. No, that's boring. Talk about your experience with online shopping. Also really boring. No, thank you. Oh, fruit beer. Have you had like Kriek? The cherry beer? I hate beer, but like, yeah, Kriek I will actually drink. It's so good. I thought that it was the drink that I had in Belgium when everyone else was having beer and there was only beer, and it was just something I did to make do. But I got cravings for it when I moved to Liverpool. Oh yeah, we've talked about Kriek before, haven't we, Diana? I will not be telling Language Class what I've been purchasing online. Hey there, Bernard Bluton Space. We're doing some Chinese. I can't believe there's 32 people here watching me blab about language and do homework. So the next topic we have is 打工, which is part-time work. So, do you think that you should or shouldn't do part-time work while you're attending, like during your university years? Why? Why not? Boring. Wait, what's that? Opinion. This is my experience and opinion about part-time work or about doing odd jobs. Also boring. Nope. 看病. So that's like seeing a doctor. My experience seeing a doctor, or I only believe in Western medicine or Chinese medicine. Why? So, I mean, I was a little bit interested with this. 看病的经历, my experience seeing a doctor, because I could have talked about when I was in Taiwan. I just moved to Taiwan, and I got my doctor from Australia gave me a call and was like, so you remember that like pap smear that you took before you left for overseas? Yeah, it came back with some abnormal cells, so you might have like pre-cancer. You might want to get that looked at while you're in Taiwan. So that was not pleasant to get after I just moved overseas for a year. And not only that, but I just started learning Chinese. I didn't really know how to navigate the health system in Taiwan, and also I couldn't really find any place at the time that had English-speaking doctors. And also the only doctors who were specialized in gynecological sort of care were men, which I mean, like, call me sexist, but I think a lot of male gynecologists are sexist. Oh, there's a bug in here! Oh, sorry, there's a bug in my water. I wanna... no! Little friend, let me help you. Okay. There we go. I mean, I'm not going to be able to drink that anymore, but sorry, let me just put it to dry on my Russian notes. Oh god, I hope I don't accidentally kill it. Squish it. Okay, I think it's going to be able to dry now. Okay, good. All right. Poor little bug. Oh yeah, so it was really, really stressful. Navigating a new medical system. Medical systems are like bureaucracies, especially hospitals. So they're so difficult if you don't know what you're doing. I was so scared and so stressed. And like the medical procedure that they did was weird and uncomfortable, and I don't think I've ever felt so violated in a medical setting before in my life. Like I won't tell you what happened because it's too much information. But yeah, it was highly unpleasant. But you know, I could have talked about that, not about the procedure itself, but just about how navigating a new medical system in like a Chinese speaking context was, you know, was interesting and a learning experience. But yeah, those are the topics that I actually want to talk about, as opposed to this here. Oh, we're really zoomed in here. This 2-minute presentation that I'm not even getting marked on. What is different from the Australian primary school curriculum? I don't care. Really? Does it have to be 2 minutes? What kind of education? Because normally in class, like the reason why I'm having to do this now is because normally we do this in class and it's not like a marked thing. It's just we go off into groups and then we discuss it, and then the teacher will tune in for a little bit and then go to the next room or something like that. But because she wasn't able to do the class today, she gave it all to us to do as homework, and to prove that we were engaged, we have to do a little presentation ourselves. Yay! Fun times. Okay, what is different from the Australian primary school curriculum? Let's see if there's something else that's different. I don't care. I hate primary schools. I hate children. Okay, so let's go back to what these are. We've got raising the flag. We did have to do that. Not every day, though. Oh, I just got water in the keyboard from the poor bug. 小学生, does that work? 小学生时, wait, 的时候. When I was a primary school student, this is probably, I'm doing this in a very simple way. Like, this isn't very sophisticated grammar. Yeah, raising the flag. We had to do that in, so it's, I think, 给力. I don't know what that is. 为草. Sao is like grass. What was I saying? Oh yeah. In Australia, I remember we had like a flag raising thing for the national anthem during assembly, so I'll probably write about that. 我是小学生的时候, we 每一个星期 raise the flag. 在 during the assembly. So during assembly, I'll look that up later. That's another strategy I do as a language learner. Sometimes you just want to get the piece out. Like, you don't want to just... It interrupts you to be constantly looking up words. So I normally... If I'm writing in a... So, school assembly. This is normally what I do. 中. Okay, I'm gonna move 我们. I don't think it... 我是小学生的时候，每个星期在 school assembly 中，我们 So weird what children have to do. I know, right? The USA does make kids swear an oath every day, right? Really? Oh, we do we did the school assembly, at school assembly we sang the national anthem. and had to stand for the national anthem, and someone would raise the flag, and I was always jealous that they got to raise the flag and I didn't. At least our national anthem isn't particularly nationalistic. In fact, it says explicitly we've boundless plains to share, which I wish more people would, take note of when they want to be nationalistic and anti-immigrant. Wankers. Like, even white Australia back then said boundless plains to share. I guess maybe the caveat, like the small print was, we've boundless plains to share if you're British. If you're white British. Woman. While during the school assembly, woman. Oh, okay. So 有学生 Wait. I don't want to do this. This is so boring. If you look at the older versions of the Australian anthem, it becomes really obvious what fair means, eh? For them to share with us. Yeah, probably. No, I don't want to write about the national anthem. It's boring. I don't like... Everything else is pretty much the same, though. We had sports, we had general something, whatever that was, general comprehension. We had language development. What is 大课文? 大课文. 大课文. Oh, is it 大课间? I think it's 大课间 because I don't know simplified characters. 大课间. This thing in the middle here. Big break. And what's that? 课间餐. So that's like a food break. 课间餐 meal. Okay. Twitch refused to let me hear that story. Crushed outright. Oh dear. Okay. Yeah, national anthems are kind of messed up, and so many of them are really violent as well. I just don't want to... What kind of education do you think primary... Let's just move on to that one. But I don't care. I don't care what kids... A balanced one? But what does that even mean? 我觉得 I think... No, it's better to say 我认为 I consider that 小学生 I just wish I cared about this. I think that primary school students so should not only 应该 I keep saying 应该 I'll just get rid of the must there. So I think that primary school students must not only I can't remember not only and but. So they should not only 有时间去外边玩 Oh wait, no. 时间 Okay, so I think that primary school students should not only have time to 念书 to study. That is not how you write 念, I don't think. 念书 Yeah, why would you write it like that? Nian Shu. Let me just double check, because that's... Letter of comfort? Okay, maybe they were right. Okay, study. Whoops. Sigh. Okay. Nian Shu. Held a message for a reason. Identity. And all it is just... Chin. What? I didn't add the permitted term JAP. Oh, jeez. Well, I guess it'll probably reset. My national anthem contains stepping on enemies, have enemies' blood spatter on flag. Yeah, pretty violent. I think like the British one, like Britons never ever ever will be slaves. The rule Britannia one, Britannia rule the waves, like everything about that song is inherently problematic, especially just the implication, like if you're saying Britons will never be slaves, it is inherently implying the inferiority of people who are slaves, that they let themselves be slaves because they weren't good enough and they deserve to be slaves. Like everything about that is just disgusting. Oh, that's not the anthem. Oh, thank God. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. Okay. Yeah, 应该有多有 no, okay. So I believe that 我认为 I consider that 小学生 primary school students 应该 must 不止 not only 有时间念书 have time to study 也应该有时间 去 that is the wrong 去外边玩 they should have time to go outside and play. Let's just double check. But also time to play outside. Yeah, okay, that'll do me. 要不然 wait. What else? Oh! Getting back to schoolwork? Good luck, Diana! The last verse of the Irish anthem talks about going into battle against our Saxon foe. Oh my god. The anthem is God Save the Queen, which also sucks, but mentions slavery a whole lot less. Oh, well. My mother, who is from Fiji, she had to sing God Save the Queen every day as well. Being a British colony at the time. Isn't that gross? Isn't that disgusting? I don't know. Very terrible. Okay, so I think that in Australia, besides English, maths, body stuff, physical education, and science, almost every student must... Oh, wait, yeah. Also studies religion. Maybe in China, children study morality instead of religion. I think that primary school students should not only... Like, this is just two different... Like, these have no connection with each other. This is not an essay. This is not my finest work. It's just because I just need to get content out there. I consider that primary school students should not only have time to go out and... to just have time to study, but also must have time to go outside and play. 要不然 otherwise... You almost sang God Save the Queen to the Queen once, but you got sick. Yeah, the whole idea made you sick, didn't it? 要不然 otherwise... 对孩子的压力太高了。 Okay, what I think I'm saying is otherwise pressure on kids is too high. Yes! The pressure on the child is too high. 一些 some 孩子嫌念书了 wait 嫌念书了 let's see, like some children will grow to dislike learning. Oh, maybe over time, gradually. That's what we want. Okay, gradually in Chinese. Yeah, I remember 逐渐 有的 instead of 一些有的孩子要先念书了 Sounds about right. Gradually, some children are going to dislike studying. Yes, I think this is good. Okay, let's time this, shall we? Do I have a stopwatch on this thing? Maybe I'll make it good for something. Okay, timer. No, I don't want to do exercise. Oh, jeez. Agenda, relax, timer. Okay, stopwatch. Okay, starting now. 在澳洲，除了英文、数学、体育和科学，差不多每一个小孩子也学宗教学。可能在中国，小孩子替宗教学学品德。我认为小学生应该不只有时间念书，也应该有时间去外边玩，要不然对孩子的压力太高了。I can't remember that word. 有的孩子要先念书了。How's that? 45 seconds! Oh, God! Oh, 1 minute and 15 seconds to go! Okay. All right, let's put one more sentence about the difference between Chinese schools, well, this Chinese school and Australian school. Primary school should be 90% learning about worms. I remember doing an assignment about mini beasts in school, because I remember that term. I've never used that term before or since, mini beasts. It's very cute, though, when I think about it. Mini beasts. All right, what else can we write? And I need to look up how to say this word, because I'm going to have to do a recording to prove. 逐渐. Okay, let's write that. 逐渐. And here's another little thing that I got. Whoops. No. Okay, so. Haha! Okay, I pressed a special little button, and now, even though it's technically thinks that it's typing in Japanese, I don't know why this happens, I can now type in pinyin. So what was it again? 逐渐 Yeah, look at that. Isn't it cool? All the tools I have at my disposal. How about number of courses? I don't remember that, though. Number of courses. Yeah, I guess every day I just... Oh, is that a nap time? I think that's a nap time. Oh my goodness, let's just double check that. So, 眼保健 something. Yan. Wait. Yan Bao. What? Or is it Jing Bao? No? Yan. Yeah. Yan. What? No! Yan Bao. No, I'm not. It's not. There we go. Yan Bao Jian. And then what's this one? What was it? Jian. Is it Seoul? No, can't remember. Okay, so let's type it in here. I'm too lazy. I know it means to like organize. This is a lot easier if you have like a mouse pen that's easily accessible. Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it there. Cao, Jian Cao, eye exercises. Okay. Let's talk about that, shall we? Okay. Getting abs in the eye. 我也没想到在学校里孩子中国孩子做 whoops, that's not the right word. 做. Okay, I also had no idea or could not envision that in school, maybe I'll say, just to be on the safe side, I'll say 在 小学中国孩子. So I also didn't consider that in primary school, Chinese children do eye exercises. Large muscular eyes. Okay, let's back translate this to see if we're on the right track. I didn't expect children to do eye exercises in elementary school. See, it explicitly missed out on the yeah, which means also. I also didn't expect. So we're learning a lot about Google Translate here and how it's a supplementary tool for when you already know what you're doing, just to verify things. Okay. Cao, Jian Cao. Wait, let's double check what this is. It is, yeah, Yan Bao Jian Cao. Yan Bao Jian Cao. Let me put that in pinyin too, because I'm gonna have to pronounce that. Yan Bao Jian Cao. All right, let's have a look at what we've got. The whole thing, and I'll just say it really slowly. I think as long as it's over a minute, it'll be fine. So we'll go through it one more time afterwards, and we'll speak kind of slowly and see if that works. Okay, in Australia, apart from English, mathematics, physical education, and science, almost every child also learns religious studies. Maybe in China, children learn morals instead of religion. I didn't expect Chinese children to. I also didn't expect Chinese children to do eye exercises in elementary school. Wait, oops. Ah. 10. Does this work? I'm not really too in elementary school. I don't know. Okay, here's where we Google. Okay, well, that looks like you don't want to look at things with dictionaries. You want to look at other things which are apart from dictionaries that use the thing that you're looking for. Okay, I don't think you're right. 在 So 没想到我也没想到中国孩子 Oh, let me just allow that message. I don't know why it was... Oh, the permitted term that has been added is so slaves vary. It's weird. God, Twitch is so designed by white people. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't even do... Yes, there are some ways that people use language which is very, very bad and needs to be policed, but you don't just deal with it by putting a blanket term on those things. Like, there are ways to do this, because we have, like, things in check for children that are somehow effective, and like... Like, just hire people of color. Hire a single person of color to go on that team and listen to them, you know? Like, it's not enough to hire them. You need to actually listen to what they say. Jesus Christ. Oh. Do you reckon teachers are into the talking slowly trick yet? Well, honestly, it helps you speak clearer as well. So I don't necessarily think that it's a trick, per se, as long as you're not talking ridiculously slow. Okay, sorry. A little bit of an outburst there. Okay, maybe children learn moral character instead of religion. I didn't expect Chinese children to do eye exercises in elementary school either. Excuse me. 在中国是小学 Oh, 小学时 I think that elementary school students should not only have time to study, but also have time to play outside. Otherwise, the pressure on children is too high, and gradually some children will dislike studying. Yeah, that'll do me. It doesn't need to be grammatically incorrect. I don't need to be a perfectionist about this, because this is just to show my attendance at a tutorial from which the teacher was absent. When I wasn't sure of a correct pronunciation in class, I just spoke fast and for the best, and hoped for the best. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, speaking fast can give off the illusion of fluency. So, speaking as someone who's taught language in the past as well, like, some of these tricks are just good advice, you know? Okay, so let's try timing again. Has streaming helped me out with getting through studying? It's helped me with this, because this was really boring. Okay, let's do it one more time. Little stopwatch here. No, how do I reset it? Reset. There we go. Okay. 在澳洲，除了英文、数学、体育和科学，差不多每一个小孩子也学宗教学。可能在中国，小孩子替宗教学学品德，我也没想到中国孩子小学时做眼保健操。我认为小学生应该不只有时间念书，也应该有时间去外边玩。要不然对孩子的压力太高了，逐渐有的孩子要先念书了。Okay. 1 minute! Okay, yes, that'll do me! Yes, okay. I will record that and I'll send that off, and that will be great, and then I'll never have to think about education in China or in Australia ever again in the context of primary school. Hooray! All right, so shall we do a palate cleanser with some Russian? I think we should. Let's do a palate cleanser with some Russian. Let me ask, how are you enjoying this stream so far? Because, like, it is just me doing homework while you watch. I thought it might be interesting in the sense that it gives you a sort of idea about how I work and how I approach languages, given that I am someone who works a lot with them and have certain strategies to deal with it. It's neat in a peculiar way. Awesome. All right, so we're going to go from listening, lesson 46, listening, to troika. All right, so here's my disgusting Russian textbook. Sorry, wait, no. I was about to show you the cover and say don't buy this textbook, but that could get me banned from Twitch. So just pretend that you don't know what this textbook is called. We'll just do a big zoom in on. Oh, isn't it great that it teaches you all this culture? It really teaches you all this culture in a really immersive way. I love learning about Russian culture in this American textbook, which uses nothing but American examples for things that I care nothing about. Oh, I hate this textbook so much. I can't describe how much I hate this textbook. It's so garbage. Okay, sorry. Okay, so here's the criteria. I was actually given like a separate like email which had all the instructions for the oral examination, but I copied them into a Google document. As you can see here, I made this all by myself because this is what I do. This is how I approach languages. So that way I always know what date it is, what the weight of it is. Oh God, let me show you something. This'll make you sick. Okay, so this is sharing with you my secret. This is how much of a nerd I am, right? I have color coordinated all my subjects and their assessment tasks. I've written down the weight. I did this all from scratch. So this is Indonesian, obviously. Russian is orange. Yeah, and then I'm writing down, as I get all the grades for them, I'm writing down the grades so I can get an idea of, what areas I need to keep working on and all that. These are all the bolded text is stuff that I have already done. So I've done the mid-semester oral exam for Indonesian. And you're feeling sick already? You should. I've done the midterm test for Chinese, still waiting to hear back the results for that. And the mid-semester test, Language and Society in Europe. That's my sociolinguistics subject that I really like. This is coming up next week. I've already I've completed most of this. You can see I've got maybe a week of almost nothing. And in that time, I'm going to be working on all the English language stuff. So all of this, the project report, actually I might share that with you at some point because it's kind of fun. The oral presentation, I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to be working on my final essay. Maybe.
Hey there.
Oh, jeez! Thank you for following, Sean Deesh Official. Jesus Christ! I've never cared about anything enough to write down the 0.75 weight of something. Yeah, I know, right? I never did this when I was at university. This is purely a mature, coming back to school sort of special, I want you to help me with my choose Language and Society in Europe essay topic while I'm here. But okay, so wait, there's more. I have been ticking off here. Every time I do an assignment, I will count down, essentially. Oh, wait, do I need to tick off one more? So one, how many more assessments in Russian? Oh, okay, I can tick that one off. 4 assignments left in Russian. Oh my God, why am I my headphone volume is too loud. Okay, I've probably just got oh, that's right, I had the microphone really close earlier because I was having a little chat with someone and they were playing a Star Wars. So I needed to talk extra loud. Thank you for pointing that out, Evelyn. Anyway, so there's more because you see, I've got all these Chinese. I've technically only got 2 more Chinese assignments that are due. One of them the oral test that you're going to help me with, and the other the final exam. However, we also have weekly assignments. We have to do a weekly written assignment, a weekly online questionnaire sort of thing of grammar, and a weekly listening test. And every week I have been writing down the grade that I get for each of them. You can see that the reason why this score was so low with only 7 out of 10 was because I didn't realize that the automated system did not like traditional characters. So the teacher has decided that she's going to go back and manually correct this later on, so it doesn't affect the 1% of my mark that it represents. But yeah, so I've been doing everything. I'm waiting to hear back from my teacher about some of these written tasks that I've uploaded. For some reason, some of them didn't get back to me. No good, no good. I've already done the listening test here, so I should... There we go. So this is my life, essentially. This is what I'm doing in COVID, because if I'm not completely over my head with things, then I'm not having a good time. And I'm bored. All right, so why don't we have a little think now? Some of your teachers are as responsive as landlords. I know, right? So this is the topic. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it down in a new thing. I'm technically having a meeting on Sunday to chat with my teammates about how we're going to approach this, but I want to get a little bit of a head start on it because I'm a nerd. So, and I'll make this text bigger so that you can all read it. Oh God, I hate the way that simplified characters embolden. It's awful. The thing is, right, and again, I would show you my folder hierarchy because that's also really funny, but it doxes me. Yeah, if I don't do that, then I'm just inherently, like, I'm a very, very disorganized person, so this is kind of like my strategy for dealing with it, so I actually get things done. I've also got, you can see here, oh wait, no, never mind, that's got my name on it. And my email address that I never check. But anyway, we can censor that, I'm sure. So, then again, like, anyone can look me up, essentially, so it's not really a massive secret. Anyway, what's a Christianity test? There's a Christianity test that you got a good grade for. Nice. What? The Bolsheviks donated the Russian crown jewels to the IRA in 1920 to fund the War of Independence. They were found in a chimney breast in Dublin. Oh, goodness. When I was a kid, we had Christianity class instead of religion class. Oh, yeah, the thing is, right, we called it RE class. We called it religious education, but it was Christianity. And that was really weird for me as a Hindu growing up, because I was like, I just assumed it was like a myths and legends class. And so I kind of enjoyed learning about Jesus and all that. It was kind of like just reading mythology to me. Just like Hinduism. You had theology class by senior years. Oh, I see. I went to a public school. So, thankfully, they were a little bit more secular. On the other hand, I got a public school education. Which is not so great in Australia right now. Used to be better, but standards, like funding's really gone down in recent years. We even had a little magazine handed to us in each RE class. Yes, I remember those. We probably got given the same ones. Little full color things that had little exercises in them where you had to like do comprehension questions about all the little stories and things. Christianity is way cooler if you treat it as mythology. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I've always found all kinds of religions really interesting, and this is coming from someone who isn't, wouldn't really describe themselves as religious. But yeah, it's fascinating to read about, definitely. Anyway, so I'm just going to write in English, so you don't need to worry about not understanding things, but I'm going to write some notes about... Wait, it's a 5-minute presentation total? That can't be right. Let me check the actual notes. Hold on. Let me go into my Chinese thing and read the information about the oral exam. Test preparation, oral exam, topics and marking criteria. The duration of the group presentation is 5 minutes. That's nothing. Wow, that is absolutely nothing. Like, how am I going to be able to talk about... This is going to be the easiest oral presentation yet. I'm over-prepared for this already. Even though I went to Catholic school as well as Catholic doctrine, we were also taught about the different Christian denominations. No homophobia or anything like that, though. We're basically taught Christian socialism. Right? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I find in the Australian context, like, it was, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, like I worked at a Catholic school for some years, and it was a similar sort of thing. Like the RE class, I think it looked at other religions besides Christianity as well. But the school was very like queer friendly, and it was sort of like one of my memories was hearing about one student who in their English class, they wanted to do a debate, like for their persuasive presentation, they wanted to talk about marriage equality and why marriage equality should be a thing. And so they asked their teacher if that would be possible. The teacher was like, yeah, I think that should be fine. Let me ask the principal. I mean, let me ask the learning coordinators. They asked the subject coordinator. Subject coordinator was like, yeah, I think that should be fine. Ask the head of the principal, asked the principal, yeah, I think that should be fine. Let me ask the diocese. They asked the local priest. The priest was like, yeah, I think that should be fine. Let me ask the archbishop. The archbishop said no. And so they weren't allowed to do it. Yeah, there seems to be very much disconnect between like Catholicism as it's mostly practiced and taken, and Catholicism, the institution, which is quite interesting. A separation of church and state? What's that? Confused English noises. I was really hoping the story would go all the way to the Pope. Me too. Okay, so let's go to... This is me talking about my Chinese New Year experience, and I just want to talk about in Taiwan I experienced Chinese New Year with a Taiwanese friend. Invited me to spend a day with, I'll just say it, all shops were closed. Oh god, the food in Taiwan is so good, with her family. Oh god, they were so nice as well. Taiwanese people, like, I don't want to generalize, I feel like that's a little bit racist, but like, there's just something about Islander culture which I really, really liked. Like, it's the same thing, like, it just felt like, in many ways, like Fiji. It's like, there is some Chinese culture, but there's such strong, like, Islander culture, like, Islander friendliness, people laid back. Like, I remember you would, like, walking down the streets would be busy, but there would be people looking at their phones and just walking really slowly, and it's like, they're in no hurry to get anywhere. Maybe I am, but they're not. And like, that was kind of refreshing to me. I came from the context of, before living in Asia, I'd been living in Japan, and everything's very much efficiency. Don't get in anyone's way. Don't make a fuss. Don't start anything. And then you've got Taiwan where it's like, I'm in no rush. It was just really, I don't know, really endearing. Yeah, sure, it'll be grand attitude. Definitely. I really like it. And like the family I was spending time with as well. I mean, I'm guessing for them it was kind of cool to get like Western people inside so they could share their culture and all that. So to a degree, maybe that was like a mutually beneficial thing, but I felt so privileged to be able to do that. So we had a huge lunch. Mother kept trying to, oh, the food's so good, me to eat more. After lunch, everyone sat down and gambled for hours. Seriously, like all the young people were playing like dice games. Children and young people equals dice games. Like they gambled with real money as well. Like I don't like gambling, so I didn't like put any money in, but they gave me some money to start with. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just, anything that I win, I'll just give it to you, because like I'm not really in this for the money. But then at the end of it, I ended up winning quite a lot of money, and then they were like, no, keep it. So they refused to take it. Apparently, I mean, gambling is quite normalized. I mean, that kind of casual gambling, but it seems like it's at least in that family, I don't know whether it's a big Taiwanese thing, but it was a huge thing in that family. They were vicious with each other. Like the parents spared no quarter to the children. I think one kid was in tears at one point because they lost so much money. Oh. Anyway, children and young people played dice games, and elders equals mahjong, and they were playing Taiwanese mahjong, which is apparently different from Chinese mainland China mahjong and Japanese mahjong. And basically it seems like every different region has different rules for mahjong, which I think is really interesting. Before going, I did some training with another Taiwanese friend of how to play mahjong so I could play it with the elders, because I really wanted to, I thought that would be a really good way to bond, given that that's basically all they did. They just eat lunch, play mahjong for hours and hours and hours. And they gambled with mahjong as well, so the person who won would get some coins. And I actually won against the elders like 2 or 3 times. I was so stoked. I didn't expect to. The thing is though, like, how with chess, what were the stakes generally? Like it was maybe the price of a cheeseburger, less than that. Like there were small amounts, but the amounts kind of added up. So like, how with chess, it's got this sort of prestige about it, and there is a kind of prestige also to the time that it takes for you to make your move. Like there's the assumption that you're taking a really intellectual approach. You're just kind of like, let me ponder this move. It's like an intellectual thing. And the time that you spend is like, it makes the move that you eventually come up with intellectual. Like there's a sort of symbol there with the time that you wait, yeah? Something I really hate about chess. I hate a lot of things about chess. But with mahjong, it's like the opposite. People will get furious at you if you wait more than like 5 seconds before putting a card down. At least this family did. Like I was told that it's a pretty normal thing. Elders will like slap your hands if you're not quick enough. I love it. It's kind of like the anti-chess. It's a game of intellect, but you need to do it really quickly, otherwise everyone will be pissed at you. Oh, so funny. Elders mahjong. That's probably as much as I can say in that like 3 minutes. Well, 2 minutes that we're gonna have. 1.5 minutes. Yeah, because then other people will talk about different things like the decorations and all that. I feel like the gambling element is the one I want to focus on in Taiwan, because that was like the majority of what I remember. Okay, well that's pretty much all I need to do for the time being. With this Chinese presentation. So now let's move on to Russian. So with Russian, we need to like, they say talk for 2 to 3 minutes in Russian about yourself, but I was told by the person who actually assesses the oral presentation that that equates to about 15 sentences. And, wait. Oh. So this was my first, for last semester's oral presentation, this was the extent, 15 sentences. Hello, my name is Cav. I am learning, I speak English, Japanese, Spanish, Chinese, and Russian, but I only speak Russian a little bit. My family isn't big. There's my mother, my father, and my sister. Like, you know, it was very, very simple. This time, we need to include family, who they are, what they do, where they work, my daily and weekly schedule. Like, oh, this is way too much. Anything else you want to include. So I'm not going to talk about the languages I know and speak, because that will take too long. It's starting to be embarrassing now if I'm asked to talk about my languages, because it seems like I'm just saying it any language that I can say a word or two in, but I'm actually like legitimately learning these languages. Oof. Having said that, I need to take a refresher course in Spanish, I think, because Indonesian, the pronunciation of Indonesian and the formation of words is so close to Spanish that now when I go to speak Spanish, Indonesian comes out. I don't like it. Anyway, so daily and weekly schedule. Why don't we, in order to make this work, talk about free time. Okay, that's included in there. So what we'll do is we will paste that here and make topics. So this is how a Cavi prepares for an oral presentation. My mother, my father, and gillyweed. The Animaniacs where they list all the countries. Okay, my family. So this is like, I study at Melbourne University and Australian National University, but I've been studying for two months, which is not true. At this point, it'll be 3 месяца. I should let you know, my pronunciation in Russian is not so great at the moment. I'm still getting my mouth around the language, so, and I've been studying it for considerably less than the others, so don't laugh at my terrible pronunciation. The real question is, Cav learned more languages, have been to more countries? Been to more countries. There are many countries in Europe, and I've crossed several borders. Like, the languages that I speak, that I would say at this point that I speak with some degree of proficiency, that I would feel comfortable having a conversation in, even a small one, would be English, Japanese, Chinese, Spanish, Indonesian, Russian. So that's 6. 6 that I'd be comfortable speaking in. And I've been to more than 6 countries in my life. I'm thinking about maybe getting back into Arabic as well. It defeated me the first time, but it's such a gorgeous language, you know? Like, the written system is so pretty. I just wish I could understand it. And that's why I started learning Japanese as well. I just wanted to understand it. Look at all those interesting characters. I wish I knew them. I'm curious about Icelandic as well, but like that would have no function. Oh, Farsi as well. Farsi is also very, very pretty. Okay, so family, who they are and where do they work. So I've also got, like, from my assignments, various little snippets of things that I have written about. So I can probably just plop all these together and then like trim them down. So that might be a way to do this. So I've written that. And I have moved that to a different section. Oh! Ah, no. What form of Arabic do they teach in education? I think it was, what's it called? Modern Standard Arabic or Standard Modern Arabic? We were mainly just learning the letters, honestly, in the class that I did go to. But I don't think it was taught very well, honestly. I'm quite interested in Sudanese Arabic, largely because it's a lot more relevant to the Australian context, and I really, really would love to do some work, helping like with initiatives for the Sudanese Australian community. Then again, like the Sudanese Australian community speaks more than just Arabic. They speak like this amazing wealth of like community languages. So me learning Sudanese Arabic is not necessarily going to help me communicate with the community, especially because I think it would be it would be Sudan and not South Sudan. I think South Sudan was more like Dinka, Noor, and other languages, whereas I think up north, because it's closer to other Arabic speaking countries, Arabic was more of a thing. So up in Sudan itself. Okay, family, who they are and where they work. Let me grab this. So krolik. I love the word for rabbit. Rabbit in Russian is krolik. Oh, it just gets you in your heart. Krolik. Oh, нас есть кролик. Oh, so adorable. All right. I'm going to put that's all at the end there. We have lots of South Sudanese diaspora too, which I think still had more English speaking in official institutions. Oh, that's very interesting. Duolingo does not tell you which kind of Arabic it teaches you? That's kind of dodgy. Deep-fried krolik. That's awful. Juba Arabic is what is commonly spoken. Oh, that's interesting. So it's a different kind of Arabic. Unless that is Sudanese Arabic? I don't know. Okay, so if we're talking about the family, this is hello, this is my name. Oh, and this is what I speak. So let's like pick it apart, shall we? Oh no, I'll cut these. Actually, I don't care. Oh no. What I'll do, you see, I'll be really clever. I'll be a clever little sausage, and I will copy all this stuff. And then I'll paste it elsewhere, and then I'll cut all the other stuff in case I get really nervous about like losing my work. Okay, so я говорю по-английски, по-японски, по-испански, по-китайски и по-русски, но я только чуть-чуть говорю по-русски. I speak Russian, English, etc., but I don't speak English very well. So where? Oh, what? No! Oh shit! I cut it from the wrong place again. Okay, let's go back up here. So that's me talking about languages. What languages you know and speak? There. I'll make headings for each of these. Anything else you want to include? Yeah, choose. That is what you study. So that's me saying I study at Melbourne University. You have to get back to your own homework. See you later, call me an underscore. There's 2 different Sudanese Arabics. Oh, isn't that fascinating? There's just such a richness in the languages in African countries, but like because of colonization, we just lump everything together. Really, like, God, we have messed up that region. Apparently there was a recent assassination of a... Oh, what was it? It starts with Oromo. Let me double check. Yeah. There was an assassination of an Oromo, so like one of the Ethiopian communities, a musician who was like really big into activism and getting, you know, for like Oromo rights and things like that. He was assassinated, and it caused a huge, like there's a lot of conflict happening in Ethiopia over the past like month or two as a result of this assassination. It's so sad. There's so much unrest, and like you just think of how much of it was like directly wait, why am I back in here? How much of it was directly caused by colonial just recklessness and just disrespect. Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed there. I'm talking about something serious. Okay, so my name. Okay, let's say hello, my name is... We'll put that here. And my family is not very big. We'll put that in there. The bold text here, if you're wondering, the bold letters is where the emphasis is, because in Russian, where the emphasis is changes the way that the preceding vowel sounds are stressed. So this is an O, right? But because ye is stressed here, the O gets weakened and becomes like an sound. So отец. There you go. And that is, what else? What's another example? So here, it looks like odna, but it's adna. Adna, because the is stressed, so the O gets weakened to an They capitalize instead of using tildes? No, they don't capitalize. This is just the way the letters look. Oh no! I've made these words bold. They do use like accent symbols. Like you can see in the textbook here, they've done that for our convenience. It's not commonly done, I don't think, in Russian texts. I think this is more of a Russian learner context. But for me, I bold them because I can't be bothered finding the character and putting the accent in. So this makes it easier for me in the context of an oral examination to know where I'm meant to put the stress or to remember. Tildes are too frivolous for Russian. Okay, so my sister, I mean, I have to misgender myself and my sibling for the purpose of Russian, because it's just a very, very binary language. Okay, Krolik. I'm gonna move the information about family here, put that here. Мою сестру зовут Рэй. Она хорошая танцовщица. Моего отца зовут Джон, и мою маму зовут Мала. Моя мама и мой отец учитель. У нас есть кролик. У нас милый серый кролик. The word for cute is milly. 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 I love Russian. Russian is just such a cute language. Кролик. Okay. So I live in a house. My parents live in an old house. No, that's not really interesting. I'm gonna get rid of that. So where you study, I already put that up there. No Russian has ever been happy enough to use a tilde. I don't really need to say this is. I think Melbourne University is larger than Australian National University, but I don't know because I'm studying online. I don't need to write that. I also work at home about 3 days a week. It's not true. You're freelance, you work when you can. I'm a translator. My parents are okay, so this is family where they work. Yes. Okay, so where was that? Who they are, what they do, where they work. Okay, so I'll keep that in this same section. I don't need the Toje there. Toje is also, so if it's just coming out of nowhere. So daily and weekly schedule. Daily and weekly schedule. I have a section down here where I've written, I play the piano. No, I don't care about any of that. No. Okay. What you do on a typical Saturday. So we'll put that information up there. Look at us being organized. Your daily and weekly schedule. I can just like edit this so that it, like, obviously this is not going to be my whole oral talk. That's way too long. My interests. So I can take this section here where we had to pretend that we're applying for a bloody, what was it? A youth counselor. And we had to talk about, we had to stress that we're good at both the humanities and sports. And I hate sports. I actively dislike sports. So I'm gonna like move that stuff down. And then I'm gonna edit that. What you like doing in your spare time? I like studying in my spare time. Do I play the piano? I do, not very well. I get a lot of stage fright when it comes to performing as well, so that doesn't really help. But if I end up moving into a new place, then hopefully we'll be able to take my really old janky piano that we got for free because it was broken. Okay, I've gotten rid of that. Where you study, blah, blah, blah. What you study. Where is... Wait, did I just get rid of all the stuff about Melbourne University? Whoops. No? Okay, no, it's alright, it's alright. I can write something new. So what I study... So I'm just going to write here, add language study, and I'll just add the linguistics, and I'll say, yeah, I'll change some stuff there. I do actually also play the flute and Japanese drums, as I mentioned there, but all the sports stuff is lying, because I hate sports. Your family. So we've got a bunch of information about family, who they are, what they do, where they work. Daily and weekly schedule. I can just adapt this because this is just essentially what I do every day, which is wake up, study, eat lunch, study, go to class, study. Occasionally I'll get some freelance work that I can do, thank goodness. And I stream as well. I actually included streaming in here, but I didn't say it was streaming. I said I work for 3 hours. Because it was Saturday, so it's like at 8 p.m. I'm not going to say I do a Saturday morning co-op stream with Sean from YouTube. I'm interested in talking about my previous studies, so why don't we say anything else you want to include? Yes, I'll include that. Ah! Yay! Okay. Michael from OnlyFans. Okay, so the scribe day, that seems to be the kind of thing that my tutor is going for. Describing the day. And what's this? Page 192. Daily schedule. Okay. 192, 193, 195. Okay, so using these time expressions. Daily and weekly. So this is probably going to form the basis of my thing. Oh! Wait, where did I put... Oops. Ah! Interest, sports you enjoy. Okay, that should actually go under here. And what you like doing in your free time. is completely blank right now. So I need to insert something in there, probably. Why not include Twitch Sings? No! Oh, she'll probably like Kate Bush, though. She's sort of from that generation. Djevalyus, what's that? Don't know that word. Getting dressed. Okay, alright. Yeah, so apparently I really needed to know that. Getting dressed. 15 sentences. I need to remember obычно, which is like usually, I think. So let's see how many sentences we have here in total, because I'm kind of curious. I'm going to count this as like one sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay, we got a bunch of sentences going here. So now I guess the thing is to try and cut it down to the most important stuff. And I think the idea is we need to use a lot of verbs. So the weekly schedule is definitely going to have to form the basis of this. So where people work is going to be important, more so than who they are. I don't care about my siblings' names. And I say that they're teachers down in the next paragraph, so we don't need to do this. I don't need to talk about my krolik as much as I want to talk about my krolik. Okay, maybe. I'm going to underline that. Maybe I can talk about my krolik. So this is introducing my family. It's not big. I work at home, usually 3 times a week. I'm a translator. My parents are teachers. They work at government schools. My mother has already been working. That's how many years they've been working. We don't need that. We can get rid of it. So I can include a sentence here about my weekly schedule is very busy. Or no, my daily schedule, let's say, because it's study every day. So my daily schedule is very busy. And then I'll say, we'll start up with where's Russian. And this is just talking about I wake up around 10:30. Sometimes I wake up later. Hey, you're done with the meetings and we're still going. So glad so many of you are somehow engaged with me doing my Russian homework. Are you learning anything from this experience in terms of like how, like the process of learning languages? Is there any of you who's interested in learning a language? Or is in the process of doing so? You're not learning a thing? I'm sorry, Eric. Oh wait, I wasn't gonna drink anymore. This is like the insect. That was the bug water. Whoops. Oh, you're drawing and listening? Does give me a good idea of what to expect when going beyond the beginners. Well, this technically is beginner stuff, the Russian, but yeah, the Chinese is more like intermediate level, I think, at this point. I'm hoping that I can get into an advanced Spanish class next semester to make up the remaining units I need to do to finish one of my certificates, because it's like looking at Latin American music and sort of exploring science through... Oh, see you later! Good luck with your lecture, RHDC 95. You're mostly chilling? Oh, nice. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it's focused on like accessing Spanish through Latin American music and looking at it and writing about it and understanding it. So it'd be like I really like Latin American music. So that could be a really fun way to sort of refresh, because I'm so rusty with my Spanish. I can still translate it just fine, but like translation uses very specific skills. Like it's about recall when you see something. It's about recognizing something, as opposed to like, because I'm translating into English, I've already got all the difficult stuff there, and it's just a matter of me making the connections with English from the language. Whereas having a conversation in Spanish, it taps into places of the brain that at the moment are not very well connected. So I need to get the neuroplasticity working again. Oh, really? Many times in which you didn't know. Oh, many by tiempos do you mean like tenses? Tenses that you didn't understand existed until you were in the final years of secondary school. Oh goodness. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very good with like the linguistic terminology of Spanish. Um, it's been such a long time since I, accessed those words. Like obviously when I was learning it in Argentina, they would have used those terms to describe the language, but like it's just been like legal stuff for me in Spanish. So you, as a translator, your recall becomes quite domain specific. So if you're like a jack of all trades, like I tend to be with Japanese, it's one thing, but like with Spanish, I tend to do more business oriented texts or legal stuff. So like other domains of the language tend to sort of like take a back seat. Okay, so where are we here? That's just me saying while I'm eating breakfast, I read my email. And then at around 11, I often study Russian. And then at 1 p.m., I then study Chinese. At 4 p.m., I eat dinner together with my parents, and we talk about our day. And then sometimes we also take a walk. Usually I study Indonesian at 6 p.m. in the evening. I work at home at 8 p.m. and then I go to bed at about 11, and then while I'm lying in bed, I'm studying new Russian, Chinese, and Indonesian vocabulary. Finally, at about midnight, I go to sleep. That's literally my day. That's literally how I spend my days. Like, that's my life right now. Besides streaming, it's just language. And, like, it's not necessarily bad. It's been keeping me going. I think it's been keeping me really, like, focused during COVID. It makes it, like, just because of the fact that my brain, like, I'm exhausted all the time. But for one thing, learning languages is something I really love doing. For another thing, it's going to be good, like, career boosting stuff. So, like, it gives me more languages I can work with, which gives me more access to jobs. So it's like it's going to help me with my work in the future. And also, it just takes up so much time. It takes so much time to learn a language. You really need to dedicate. Like, over here, I've got like something I made that I printed out that has like a sort of cheat sheet of different declensions, we call them, like different ways of conjugating Russian grammar. Oh, sorry, that was really loud. I've got so many other, like, I think I got like a bunch of them with Chinese.
Hello.
Wow, thank you for following. Shutstag, thank you so much. Welcome. But yeah, it takes so much time. I've got so many flashcard apps in my phone that I use whenever I'm going for a walk now. When I'm walking by myself, I am studying vocab the whole time. Before I go to sleep, I'm looking at vocab. When I wake up, if I'm too lazy to get out of bed, I give myself an excuse to stay in bed for longer because I'm lying there doing vocabulary practice. Language takes up so much time, and it's been so good in COVID because what else am I going to spend my time doing, you know? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, because vocabulary, it does just take time. There's no special trick to remembering vocab. You can use it as an excuse to lie in. If you're a lazy person like me, but who feels like, oh, I should be doing something productive, then staying in bed and just doing vocabulary practice is just the perfect excuse to just not. I love it. What about having audio for learning languages? That's interesting. Yeah, like I think that's a fantastic idea, and for me, because I have this sort of like audio processing disorder that, I mean, it's not diagnosed, so I can't really say that I have, but I have some serious difficulties with like comprehending like spoken language in many situations. Not because I don't understand it, but because my brain just does not process words for some reason. It's really weird. The only language it hasn't happened with is Chinese. But because of that, like I don't do podcasts, and I only listen to audiobooks when I'm falling asleep. Like I listen to stuff to fall asleep because my brain just tunes it all out and it just becomes a sort of like pleasant noise. So it's a tool that I'd recommend for everyone. I think that having like immersive audio music can be a really good one for that because, you know, like music's just sounds, right? Sounds to melody. So you can end up learning language while you're singing. That's one of the few things that I can access quite normally. But yeah, audio is great. If there's a podcast that you know, language learning podcast, or even like a news podcast or something like that, there's a lot of great resources. So many people learn Japanese through anime, for example. And while, you know, I don't watch anime myself, I kind of, you know, there are times when I wish that I did, because it's such a good way to tap into colloquial Japanese. Like my Japanese as spoken is very academic, if not a little bit sarcastic. It's not, you know, if I'm talking with people, I'm always going to be a little bit more polite than I need to be. Whereas if I had grown up around a lot of anime, or if I consumed a lot of anime, manga, that kind of thing, then it would be a lot or watch Japanese television. I also hate Japanese television, all like the reliance on panel shows and things like that. The novelty really wears off quickly. Well, it wore for me. But like, it's so good. And Japanese television is fantastic as well, because there are subtitles all the time. So, you know, like all of the major things that people say, they'll put it in like big, exciting text at the bottom. So you can really learn the language, like compare it like with the written form, like learn the written form as you're learning the spoken form. Really good resource. I just can't access it. I think you'd like the film Your Name. I think you'd like what the film Your Name does. It uses two different colloquialisms of Japanese, the plot being about two characters that swap bodies. Oh, that's very interesting. Huh. You learn Japanese from Yakuza movies, IMO. Like the rolled R's. Oh, learn Japanese from enka songs. Ugh, that's great. You'll just sound depressed all the time, but you know, you'll have a lovely melodic sort of growl. But yeah, in answer to your question, yes, audio is fantastic. Really good, especially if you want to do a lot of spoken stuff. For me, I have social anxiety, and I really like reading as opposed to talking, related to sort of my strange sort of inability to hear things without the aid of subtitles or whatever. So I tend to prefer the written word and translation and all that, but it is fantastic, and I wish that I had better access of these things, or better command of them. Another tool is if you have Netflix, there's a tool I found recently which has like dual subtitles. So you can have English subtitles of something plus subtitles in another language that is already available on Netflix. What's it called? I posted it up on the Language Learning Discord at some point. Let me just go into Netflix quickly and see what the plugin is called. It's a plugin for The Ultimate Crime. Okay, let's just open up Schitt's Creek, which I've never watched before, but I hear it's good. LLN. LLN. Follow on Twitter. So if I go to Twitter, Language Learning with Netflix is what it's called. There you go. So if you have Netflix and you use that plugin, then I've been using it quite recently, switching back and forth between Indonesian, Russian, and Spanish, and it's not Spanish and Chinese traditional characters, and it's so refreshing, especially with Indonesian, a language which I haven't spoken in like almost 20 years. To be able to see it all coming back and sort of recognizing the words, it feels really good when you do that. It's like, yes, progress. It's fantastic. Like, I can't recommend that plugin enough. It's so good. Anyway, where were we? So my daily and weekly schedule. Yeah, I just went through my depressing schedule. My interests, what music, books, sports, etc. you enjoy. I'm gonna get rid of all the sports stuff because I hate sports. I prefer art, but I also like sport. Wrong. I mostly play football, I think is what it is. That's not true. I've played football for 3 years. Nope. I am also not bad at playing tennis. Nope. I play tennis two times a week. Wrong. Okay, we're getting rid of all that bullshit. What do I like doing in my spare time? The thing is, like, spare time, I honestly like studying. I love studying. I'm the worst student in the world. I'm the student who will write to my lecturer and ask. Like, I wrote to one of my lecturers the other day asking a question about NADSAT from A Clockwork Orange, and asking if that's maybe an example of a multi-ethnic urban language. Which is what we studied about in class that week. I was like, hey, do you reckon NADSAT counts? I'm not sure that it does, but like, it's got this, this, and this, but it doesn't have that. What do you think, teacher? That was seriously me. I did that. I'm oh my god. I should be ashamed of myself. Sometimes I talk to we all know that Mean Sean hates academia, and while I've been studying, he's often like awake while I'm studying, so I'm often annoying him by telling him about stuff I'm doing. And he's disgusted. You should see like the lip curl of disgust when I start talking about some of these things that I do. Oh. What a confession. I can only study if I'm feeling really well or worse than usual. In the usual, I somehow have issues with attention span or something. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, for me, I think I need specific things. Like, I find self-study with language very difficult. I need to have a structured environment. Otherwise, I just don't. Even if I have access to, like, I've still got access. I don't know if you can see all my textbooks out the back there. My textbooks from Taiwan, which are fantastic textbooks. Practical Audiovisual Chinese is the name. And the first two books are a little bit dry, but from book 3 onwards, like, there's like in book 4, there's one chapter which looks at drug abuse, and like it's just talking about, you know, how to, like you're just talking about the issues involving drug abuse, what's going to solve, you know, what helps and what's causing, you know, people to take drugs, things like that. So it's like really heavy stuff that they're arming us with the ability to talk about. So that's fantastic. I signed up to courses and did study on my own when I had to set up psychologist meeting last week. Had like to postpone it. Ah, I see. Yeah. I do that too. Every so often I'll, like, when I'm not doing a course like this, I look up on Coursera and like sign up or put a whole bunch on my wish list. For me, I think what works best about these courses is that they're done live. So you have live classes that you have to turn up to, which is great for me because I'm lazy and I hate leaving my house. But whoa! I think someone just followed me on YouTube. Thank you, whoever that was. So scary. But yeah, I hate leaving my house. But like, I like having the schedule where I have to do something at a certain point, because I don't have to put much energy to do this thing. I don't need to travel 20 minutes to get into my university campus. I could literally be lying down in my bed attending a lecture, you know? Like, that's fantastic. I love it. If it's Coursera, or like if it's a course where I can, you know, I can watch things in my own time, that's too much freedom, and I just don't. I don't know if that's how that works with you, but that's definitely how it works for me. Having to be present is like a treat to me. I like keeping my being present on lesson stats up. Yeah, me too. And also I found that, like, when I was at university doing my undergraduate degree, I would often be like, I would often be absent from class, and it wouldn't be because I had anything on, and it wouldn't be because I didn't want to go. It was because I couldn't be bothered. Sometimes I'd be, you know, there'd be other reasons like social anxiety and all that. I don't know anyone in the class, so it feels cold and unwelcoming. But, you know, other times it was just because, well, I have to walk, you know, half an hour to get to the bus stop, and then I need to make sure that I'm catching the right bus, and then I'm going to the university campus, and I have to walk to my class, and then afterwards I need to go back home again and then walk back. Like, I'm very easily put off the moment it comes to like any kind of momentum, any kind of, you know, inertia. That's me gone. So I would often be absent for those kinds of reasons, and I just make up excuses not to go. But with this, I've been present for pretty much like almost every class. There's just been maybe one or two that I've skipped, like the one that I skipped yesterday, the other day when I was making the cake. That was a huge thing for me to miss a class, and I really like that. Like, there's something about the social anxiety that's involved is like just you know, like, I'm there. If I got too scared, I can just turn off my webcam. I can just leave. You know, it's not like, you know, if you get up and walk out of class halfway through, everyone turns and looks. Even if they do notice that you're going offline, you don't know that they know. Just like off, and you're gone. You know, so there's something that's really comforting, I think, as someone who sort of has a lot of social anxiety and anxiety in general, about this sort of live online format. I really hope that it continues. Like, COVID's been terrible in a lot of ways, but I feel like, and I feel kind of guilty. I've talked about this in the anxiety stream as well that I did the other day, but it's been so helpful in some ways for someone who gets so anxious in these situations to just know that there's another way to do it, which doesn't involve so much stress, which means I can just function like a neurotypical, I guess you could say, person in the same situation. Like, I can just rock up to class every time a class is on. I've never been that way before. You know, this has been a really new experience for me, and it's been fantastic. And it's made me, as you can see, it's made me a lot more studious than I was before. it's the kind of thing that I can see, like, I really hope will remain in some form, like there's some option for people to continue to do that, because like there are other applications for it as well. Like, there's, people, I guess, people under the autism umbrella as well. There could be some people who would also, for reasons related to anxiety, access these classes a lot better, or appreciate the routine while still having a level of distance there. And there's also things like, new mothers. So many new mothers are at home on maternity leave. They might be considering a career change or something. Like I have a few friends who are in that situation right now, and they would love a course like this where they can...
Hello.
Reaganomicon, thank you so much for following. But yeah, they'd love a course like this where they can have their baby on their lap and their baby can be screaming and, they're just on mute. So they're able to deal with the work, they're able to deal with the baby. If they have to breastfeed, if they think it's going to be a problem, they can just turn the webcam off while breastfeeding the baby. You know what I mean? It would, like, in terms of gender equality even, or disability, like accessibility as well, for people who have physical disabilities that make it hard for them to access, physically being on campus. There's just so much application for this. Oh, you managed to unfollow me at some point. I think there was something that happened recently where people were just automatically unfollowed for some reason. I don't know. I've had a few people come back and been like, I was pretty sure I was already following Cav, and I'm not sure what's going on there. Hasn't happened for a while. I think you're the first one it's happened to for a while. I don't think you need to have a camera with most chat rooms on unis. Yeah, that true. I mean, like, I do think to a degree from the perspective of the lecturer and as someone who's taught as well, having that human connection does make a big difference. So I think it's always going to be preferable to have a camera on if you can, like if you technically can, and if you're in a position where you can. But then there are other people who have, insecurities and things like that about being seen, or they are breastfeeding, or other things that, they think people wouldn't like to see, or they're just in bed. So yeah, I really hope that we're going to learn a lesson from COVID, and that this will, like, can you just think of what it will do for gender equality to be able to do this kind of thing in terms of like child rearing? I can't stop thinking about it ever since my friend was like talking about how she'd love to do this course. It's just been sort of on my mind as, wow, this would really take a chunk out of, you could be skilling up while you're on maternity, if you choose to do so. It shouldn't be like expected of you, but there should be the option if that's something that you want to do, And the fact that there isn't seems like it's a shortcoming of society, Interesting. Like, it just makes you think. And like, yeah, that's just going back to the whole anxiety thing as well. Like, I'm the best student that I've ever been. And it's because of COVID, It's because we're forced, and there's so many students around me are complaining. And I think that's understandable. I think most people tend to be outgoing. I think the majority of people are technically extroverted. So like they really thrive on the human connections with people. But I am enjoying the distance. I'm enjoying being able to talk to peers and be able to leave whenever I want. I'm enjoying being able to talk to my lecturers and leave. I'm enjoying the lack of awkwardness. I mean, there is a level of awkwardness because they might not be used to this sort of online format, but like, it's not awkwardness for me. I'm thriving. Yeah. So I guess my biggest worry is that people will be so keen to go back to normal that they'll forget how good this has been for so many people. Did you also improve because you can have one computer for a test with another to check your answers? I guess that's a thing. It has forced some of the tests that would otherwise be closed book to be open book because they can't police it, which has been good for me with Russian, because of the fact that I don't know whether you knew, whether you were around at the time, but what happened was I wasn't enrolled properly. And so I ended up joining the first semester's Russian course for the last week of the course. And everyone was like, most of the conveners were telling me that I should probably just drop out and not do the course, because I've missed out on like 90% of the classes, and you can't learn a whole semester's worth of Russian in 1 week. And I was like, fuck that. So I learned a semester worth of Russian in 1 week, and I got 90% in my exam, a high distinction, the highest possible grade. But it was an open book test. If it wasn't an open book test, I probably would have failed. So yeah, thank you to open book tests. And I think this one as well, it's still like, I still only had that 1 week to learn all the fundamental Russian. So I'm still consolidating the stuff that I had to cram in 1 week. So the fact that I can do another open book test for Russian is going to be really good. That's impressive. I mean, honestly, like, Russian is such a difficult language that they didn't get very far. So, and because I've studied a bunch of different languages before, and I have technically studied a tiny little bit of Russian before this, I was already familiar with the alphabet, and I just had to relearn it, as opposed to learning it for the first time. So there were some aspects which made me look more likely to succeed. I'm also from a linguistics background, not just a language background, but a linguistics background. So I have access to the language to be able to talk about the language, to be able to ask the right questions to the teacher. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have the right vocabulary, like if you don't know, is this happening because it's an unvoiced vowel or something like that, then you can't get the right answers that's really going to help to help you to understand and like really get to grips with why a language works the way it does. But if you do have that background and you do have access to that kind of language, then you're able to just pick at everything to your satisfaction, as long as your teacher is willing to help you. And I happen to have very good teachers at that university. So yeah. Oh gosh, languages are so fun. I don't know why anyone is monolingual by choice, you know? Like, I think it's one thing if you give it a go and you find out that language is not for you. But like, the idea of not needing to learn another language, everyone could, you know? Every language that I learn, like the more languages that I learn, because they all are part of different language families, it just opens up the languages I have access to, you know? Like with Spanish, I now have access to Russian and French and even Portuguese to some extent. Not because I understand those languages perfectly, but because like I can pick out the commonalities and things like that. With English, you know, like Flemish and like Dutch and German. I mean, like there's a lot more differences I think between German and English, but like Dutch and, you know, there's a lot of crossover, I think, where when I was living in Belgium and I went to Antwerp, I was reading some signs and I could basically understand what they were saying even though they were in Dutch. And even though I didn't really know what it was saying, I could still get the gist of it. Yeah, the Romance languages. Like, technically Europe is just a big chunk of, not exclusively, but there's a big chunk of Indo-European languages which covers a whole lot of not just Europe, but Asia, like Sanskrit, that kind of thing. So yeah, and so the more of those languages that you start to learn, the more connections you can make with different languages. You can notice loan words, you can notice influence of these languages towards each other, and especially from English. English is a really good tool to have. God. And like when you're walking around in the street as well, like if you're going through like a tourist area or something, for example, like when I was in Liverpool walking down the main street, I could like understand so much of what people were saying because, you know, there were people talking. Oh, then there's Finnish. Indeed. Or Basque. What the hell is Basque? But yeah, you know, like there'd be Spanish-speaking tourists who could have been from any number of countries. They could be from Spain. They could be from anywhere in Latin America. Like, even I think there are some colonies in Africa that are Spanish. Are there? No, I don't know. Perhaps not anymore. I'm not sure. But they're definitely Portuguese, former Portuguese colonies. So that would come into it as well. Like there's people speaking Japanese. There's people speaking Chinese, which could be any number of places as well. Like they could be from any country, because like Chinese is like Mandarin is spoken everywhere. It just makes me so excited to like. It just feels like you're so much closer to everyone, which seems like a really creepy way of putting it, doesn't it? The Canary Islands are still part of Spain. Yeah. Oh yeah. So there's the Polish as well. I can see the word Russian and something about romance languages, possibly. And I saw Polish in there as well. Yeah, I think connected, but I don't know. There is a degree of feeling closer as well, because when you're learning a language, you're not just learning the grammar. You're learning a whole culture and way of seeing the world. Like and again, this is my as a sociolinguist hat going on. But like, I feel like language and culture intersect a lot more than we give it credit for. So like, Polish can be easier than Russian because it has more influence from Romantic languages. That makes sense. More empathetic might take another century. Oh, definitely. But like, I do still feel closer in terms of being able to understand why certain cultures behave the way they do about certain things. And of course, it's not always going to be positive, but you can, I don't know. It feels like a really important part of decoding a culture is through the language and vice versa. Like, language and culture is like, to a degree, one and the same. Like, the things that we choose to make important such that we have language to talk about it, obviously that's gonna be, important. Totally plausible that learning a new language gives you a new way to think. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one place where like something like code switching comes in handy. Code switching being when you're speaking a language and then in the middle of speaking the language you insert like phrases or words from not just loan words, but you might just duck into a different language and then go back again. And you normally do it with people who share the same language / cultural background with you, so that way they're in the loop. And oftentimes we do it because maybe some concept has more meaning, has more nuance, has more oomph than the language that you're speaking in. Like, there's something about the word natsukashi in Japanese, which I think, like, technically it means like nostalgic, like you're feeling nostalgia. Natsukashi. But like, there's an extra kind of nuance or hint of like longing and bitterness, I think, in natsukashi, which I feel like you can't, like, nostalgia or nostalgic doesn't really quite cover it. So there's things like that as well, like just the ways that different languages make you feel, or different words in a language make you feel. They might have more prominence in that language. I don't know, there's just so much that's just really fascinating. As well as similarities between cultures, even thousands of miles apart. The classic example is chivalry versus Bushido. Or rather the pop culture ideas of them, like legends of, what is it? Tsushima or something? Oh, God. So white. Samurai so white. Yeah. Ghosts of Tsushima, that's right. Oh, jeez, fun times. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I've just gotten lost in language. I like it so much. I mean, I'm wondering about, like, if I ever, like, because one of my subscriber goals for 100 subscribers is to make a VTuber persona. and I've been wondering about what form this persona will take. And I'm kind of tossed up between someone who is like one of those Japanese-speaking VTubers, but who speaks Tosaben, which is like an old country bumpkin kind of Japanese dialect that uses nya and chi a lot. Like it's a very, very cute little dialect, which is mainly seen as spoken by farmers. And that's the place where I've lived the most. Like Kochi Prefecture is the place where I lived the longest in Japan. So it's the dialect I'm most familiar with. I thought that might be funny. Or it could just be like a code switching VTuber who just speaks all the languages that I speak, you know, just as convenient. And probably very poorly as well, knowing me. But yeah, I'm sort of still trying to flesh out what form that will take. Very interesting. Anyway, it's very common in Italian. People switch to their dialects when Italian doesn't have that oomph. Oh yeah, one of the things that we studied in my sociolinguistics class was about that. It was about Italian dialects and sort of how Italian as we know it is basically, it's like the Tuscan dialect, Tuscan language, right? Or dialect. And then it kind of got adapted as the main one. We were learning about sort of how language shift happened and how the shift towards Italian happened, and the status of these the regional languages, whether they're, you know, whether they have prestige or whether they don't. Like my understanding was that there used to be a lot of really prestigious writing, like Italian writing, which happened in the regional dialects. I can't remember which regional language it was, but there was one language in particular which had a very high status in literature, and then Italian sort of eventually took over. Well, Italian as we know it. Apparently an Italian speaker would find it easier to understand Spanish than Sicilian, even though Sicilian is considered a dialect. Well, that's the thing. Like, what was it? There's that quote about the only difference between a language and a dialect is which place, something about the end of the knife, which end the knife is pointing at. The idea being like, languages are the domain of privilege and dialects are the discards. You know, you could argue about that the Scandinavian, the three main languages, the three mainland Scandinavian languages of Danish, Swedish and Norwegian, or at least Swedish and Norwegian, you could argue, I mean, you probably wouldn't be correct, but you could argue that Swedish and Norwegian are dialects of each other, or dialects of, you know, whatever language. They used to be a lot more similar before. Apparently there's been a shift back and forth depending on how close the countries were. There were shifts towards and against enhancing differences. So making the differences out to be bigger, focusing on terms that are different from the Swedish terms, for example. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I know that we've got some some speakers from Scandinavian backgrounds here. But yeah, my understanding was that the language differences in many degrees were deliberate choices that were made during particular points in history when the countries wanted to establish a separation from each other, and so the differences were enhanced. And I think there's also a thing with is it Croatian and Czech and Slovakian. Wait, there's one place that used to be the same it used to be the same country, and it split. One of them uses Cyrillic characters, and one of them uses like more sort of Latin, like Roman characters, and that's the main difference. But rather than being called dialects of each other, because the countries really want to stay apart, they insist that they're different languages. Czech and Slovak, right, thank you. Czech and Slovak, sorry. But yeah, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And like, of course, we say that the Chinese languages are dialects because we've got this idea, and China has long pushed the idea of the collective Han identity, of the Han people, the Han ethnicity, which are Chinese. So Mandarin being the language, all the other regional languages are just dialects of Mandarin, so they're not as important. Both Denmark and Sweden ruled over Norway at different times. I bet that had an effect on the similarity of our languages. Yeah. And my understanding is as well that the reason why Danish is so difficult to understand now for Swedish and Norwegian speakers is because although the written system is still, hasn't changed much, the way that it's been spoken has changed, but the spelling of the words has stayed the same. So like the pronunciation is different, but the spelling's still the same. So the spelling no longer represents how it is spoken, and that makes it more difficult to comprehend, especially I guess from the Norwegian context, when where your written form is very close to written Danish. But fun stuff. I love these conversations. We should do these streams more often. Speaking of which, though, like, what would you think about doing more streams like this? Because this is great for me. It helps me do my schoolwork. We get some good conversation going. I'm entertained while I'm doing my work. But I do understand it's not really for everyone. Like, we are just watching me do homework. They're missing one thing. You're gonna say yodeling? You're gonna say yodeling, aren't you? Waiting for the yodeling now. Talking about languages are fun. Yeah, I think it's fun too. I love it. So, now the last thing that I want you all to help me do today. Know something to show me how to better see the USA? Oh, that would just be confusing, having English in my head and trying to write in another language. So the last thing that I want to do today is I want to plan an essay. So the essay needs to be about a given topic, and like these two topics I've written in bold, that I've highlighted in bold, are probably the one that I find most interesting. Like, look at this one. This is like a that's one hefty can of worms there. The study of language is the study of nationalism. Discuss with reference to 2 examples mentioned in the readings and lectures. So I would love to do this topic, but what I'm worried about here is that what I will do is I will not discuss with reference to 2 examples mentioned in the readings and lectures. I worry that I will go completely off the rails and just gush. That's gonna be the issue here. Like, this is an undergraduate subject. It's not like it's gonna be heavily based in what we've already done in the lectures and readings. So I'm concerned that I won't be able to control myself if I do this wonderful topic. On the other hand, this one. Conflicts around language often... Sorry, I'm going to burp. No, I didn't. Conflicts around language often reflect other social, ethnic, or political divisions. Discuss in relation to any linguistic situation discussed this semester. For example, Belgium, post-USSR, Eastern Europe, and Basque. So all these are great, especially Belgium, because obviously I lived in Belgium before. Oh, bad grammar. I lived in Belgium before, and so I kind of experienced this firsthand. And not only that, but I had to do a presentation this Monday, about Belgium. So I've already started looking at the studies involved with this, so I already kind of have half an essay formed. But my worry is that it's going to be too easy. And also, like, given that I'm studying Russian, maybe it would be better if I look at post-USSR Eastern Europe, because that's really fascinating too. Like, ideally, I would want to talk about these two. I don't know much about the Basque situation. I mean, I know a little bit, but like not enough that I'd be able to really get engaged with it. Belgium I can talk about. Post-USSR Eastern Europe is absolutely fascinating. Like, you know, what do you do with Russian? So many people speak it now, but it was the language of the oppressor. Like, it's a post-colonial discussion as well as a sociolinguistic discussion, you know? And that, of course, is always going to be fascinating to me as someone who's really interested in post-colonial discussion. So, oh, woe is me, homework is doing the shop. But yeah, like, I'd worry that if I do this one, that's me being a coward and not doing this one. I feel like this one is the one that I'm meant to do, but then I'm going to get too carried away and I will neglect my other subjects because I will be too busy making the equivalent of a YouTube video, i.e. talking about my opinions more so than I'm actually talking about, you know, actual research. Apparently, Russians have a tendency to look down on the former Soviet states with the attitude of, we saved them and this is how they thank us. Yeah, I mean, not to mention, I'm pretty sure, didn't they like destroy a bunch of the infrastructure as they were leaving? I could be getting my wires crossed, because I know definitely Japan had a tendency to do that. Britain had a tendency to do that. France did that a hell of a lot in African countries. Oh God, France in Africa is just the stuff of nightmare. Belgium in Africa is the stuff of nightmares, and there is an argument that they are responsible for the AIDS pandemic. Belgium, I mean, by causing severe malnutrition in the local population and putting them into dangerous situations with compromised immune system. Oh my God, yeah, France. Oh, France and Belgium. Anyway. So yeah, what are your thoughts? Can we get a poll going? Like, I won't necessarily go with what the poll decides, but it'll help me to sort of think about it. What are your thoughts about topic number 2 with topic number 6? Poll. Yeah, what do you think? I'm thinking, like, I'm leaning sort of towards the Belgium one because it is becoming increasingly clear to me that I will not focus on the topic at hand with the nationalism one. And I'm basically like, all of my classes I have yet to receive anything below high distinction, and I don't want to go off track now and you know, especially because this is worth, like, I think 50% of my grade. Yeah. Pokemon Go to the polls. So yeah, if I was looking at the brainstorming that I just did some brief stuff. The French context of one nation, one language. I mean, it's very common in a lot of Europe and a lot of the world. The idea that we've got a nation which is equivalent to the country, even though that's not the case, especially not in Australia. We've got, you know, hundreds of indigenous languages. And then the Scandinavian context, often mutually intelligible, but differences are alternatingly increased and decreased depending on the political situation. That's what I was talking about before. That's something that we could have looked into. How should I word the poll? Topic 2 is maybe nationalism versus language conflict. Nationalism versus language conflict. Thank you, Iliam. Language rights is a big issue in Northern Ireland since nationalists want it alongside English as an official language, while unionists are opposed to it because they're hibernophobic. Hibernophobic, what does that mean? Let me Google that. Hibernophobic. Hibernophobia means... Oh, anti-Irish sentiment, right. Oof. Oh, that's interesting. And the thing is, right, like, it seems a little bit similar to the Welsh, well, I don't want to say similar, but similar to the Welsh context, but there's like some overlap there, like the idea of Welsh, I mean, functionally speaking, it's not a very useful language, even in Wales, because everyone speaks English fluently. But then that's a whole part of like language oppression. It's like, in order to make a language a minority language and to destroy it, you take away its function. So in some ways, you kind of have to artificially force that function in order to regain or to get back the prominence that it once had. And I believe that's what is happening a lot in the post-USSR era with the former Soviet nations. We were looking at Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Is it Lithuania? Sorry, my geography is terrible. But we were looking at their context and how they're trying to enforce Estonian, or like enforce their national language as something that, if you are working in a diplomatic context, is something that you have to like, or a public facing job, you have to be able to speak, which has been criticized by the EU, interestingly enough, for being too draconian. In practice, it's a lot less draconian, but it's kind of like, in some ways, it makes you think maybe a policy like that has to happen if your language has been, reduced to that matter, just as a means of regaining its position, its former position in society. It really makes you think, because it's like, you don't want to be, doing it at the expense of, like, people like Latvians who speak Russian as a native language, who now have to access like the Latvian language, which they never really knew. But at the same time, it's like a post-colonial question. What is the best way to do this? If you just let Russian be, Russian is going to remain the dominant language. And are we okay, like me speaking as a Latvian, but like, is that something that people in those contexts can be okay with, or should be okay with? It's fascinating. Can you show both tasks? Sorry. Here we go. The study of language, the study of nationalism, discuss with reference to the two... Sorry, the poll's almost finished. And conflicts around language often reflect other social, ethnic, or political studies and stuff. Okay, language conflict seems to have gotten the most votes with 5 votes, 63%. And it was a close one too, nationalism. 3 votes for nationalism. Is Latvia close to Germany? I'm not sure. Again, my geography is terrible. Being draconian is rarely criticized, except when the person doing the criticism already likes what they estimate the hands-off outcome would be. Yeah, bilingual society seems like an interesting way to do it. I think it is important to establish a function for the minority language in order to get back some of that power, because it is a power struggle. And yeah, like it's one thing that I've really enjoyed about this is because it gives me a really strong example of post-colonialism in a white context, right? And what's interesting about this is that we don't really talk about it in those terms. We talk about it as post-USSR. We talk about it as post this unique thing. Why do we do that? Yeah, the USSR was a big thing, but so was the British Empire. Why don't we say post-Britain, India? Why do we separate these things? Yeah, this is again the sociolinguist in me coming out and saying there are deliberate choices behind why we think of these things are different. We think of it being different in a white context. It's just equal nations sorting out their differences. No, it was one country that went into a bunch of other countries and colonized the shit out of them. There was like mass displacement. There were killings. There was imprisonment. There was oppression, of the people, of the language, of the culture. There was a lot of bad stuff happening, but we think of it as just, this is just a quirk of the Soviet regime. colonialism, that's imperialism. It's all the same thing, but we look at it from a different lens. People don't say post-British India. People say post-colonial India. So in a way, it's almost absolving Britain of guilt there. We're talking about, okay, well, India's in a mess. You know? And we talk about that with African countries as well. It's like post-colonial Zimbabwe, that sort of thing. Post-colonial, other countries. I recall last year that Belgium's government was effectively non-existent because of political differences in each different part of the country. Dutch North, French South made coalitions a nightmare to figure out. Yeah, it was like almost a year, I think. That was funny. But yeah, think about that. I think that'll be my parting sort of comment on this stream, because I've done all my homework, so I'm ready to go to bed now. But think on that. The language that we use in English to talk about post-colonial struggles, why do we have different words for... Can you think of any example? Do we say post-Britain Ireland? Do we say post-colonial Ireland? What do we say in the Irish context? They say post-Soviet rather than post-Russian, but it's still like... yeah, it's a good point, yeah. Post-Soviet, but we still recognize that. We still attribute a region, to it, and we act as if the Soviet Union was so unique. In many ways it was, but in many ways all the different colonial regimes that we've had around the world have their own eccentricities, right? So why do we make these separations? Post-war Ireland, Yeah, I haven't really thought about it much that way either, but sort of seeing post-USSR, Eastern Europe, and sort of making the connection between post-colonialism and the Eastern Europe context has really just in the last few weeks made me sort of rethink the language that we use, and that the unnecessary implication of a separation between these concepts when there is crossover. And not looking at this crossover makes it difficult for us to make these connections, to empathize, to see these struggles as on equal footing. Like the post-USSR Eastern Europe struggle in terms of language and culture and all that is, it's not the same, obviously, but then because every post-colonial struggle is different, but it is a form of post-colonial struggle. We need to look at it on the same level in that way, so that way we can fully grasp what post-colonialism is, what colonization was, what imperialism means to all nations, not just brown countries. I don't think there's a term for it, considering they still call both of them the British Isles, right? If the criticism was of imperialism with an authoritarian state and a capitalist mode of production rather than Soviets, it would suggest that the problems are more applicable to the current US and UK than to left-wing political ideas. That would be inconvenient. That's an interesting point too, yeah. We've still very much got our claws into Ireland. Did we ever figure out a difference of post-colonialism and neo-colonialism? That's a really interesting point. Yeah. I guess maybe that's another language thing. Like, post-colonialism, there are still countries which exist under colonialism. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe neo-colonialism is talking about countries that are still in a colonial state, like some of the current French colonies of Africa. Like maybe those would be neo-colonial, and the ones which have gained a degree of independence or official independence would be post-colonial. They probably have to deal with very similar things. Yeah. Fascinating. God, language. It's so important to understand the world, and I get so upset when people they don't acknowledge how important the language we use is when it comes to, like, you can't understand the world without talking about it, right? Like, you can't express your observations to someone else and have them understand without being able to adequately, express yourself. It's so important for us to understand each other, like, not just in terms of what you are saying. I am eating a burger. But like, in terms of understanding how we see the world, because it's all, it's all so abstract, isn't it? There's places like Hawaii, yeah. Oh yeah, and even Puerto Rico as well. Like Puerto Rico, what is that? They don't have the right to vote in the U.S., even though they're technically a U.S. state. What is that? What rights do they have? They were completely at the mercy of the U.S. when it came to the hurricane. So, what was it, Hurricane Maria that went through? And like got them without electricity for months, and the U.S. was doing nothing about it. Like they didn't give a shit. Like what? And they were meant to be a colony? I mean, not a colony, they're meant to be a state. Ugh, it's just disgusting. Yeah, it's occupied by the USA, but it's technically given a status. Like, Puerto Rican citizens are, I believe, technically allowed free, what's it called? Free footing? Free traversing? Free... There's a word I'm looking for. Whatever. Trump gave them paper rolls. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, what a guy. Yeah, Puerto Ricans are American, but like, are they? Like, what does it mean? What does any of this mean? It's an unincorporated state. Basically, every Puerto Rican has the same status as children under the care of the state. Oh, isn't that nice? Oh my god. I don't want to say I hate the US, but there's definitely a lot of things that the US continues to do that gets away with because it's really big in the United Nations. It really gets my goat. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing about, United Nations. But, we're just going to capitulate to whatever, the people with the most money want. Ugh! Like Australia, we've committed so many human rights atrocities with like refugees and people, sending people to offshore camps and things like that. And we still have a seat at the Human Rights Council of the United Nations. Why? We've been condemned by the United Nations, but no, we're still allowed a seat because apparently we know what we're talking about. Sorry, I got off track. But anyway, let's finish off this stream going back into positive things and talking about how wonderful it is, how powerful language is, what a gift it is for us to be able to learn the language of another person, to be able to empathize with them, to be able to understand, the different perspectives that we inevitably will have based on our access to certain languages, certain concepts, certain constructs, and things like that. Isn't that amazing? Like, oh, I love it. Language is magical. Thanks to it, we can here today speak to each other. Yeah, that's very true. Like, we've got people in here in the chat who are from a non-English speaking background, in the sense of the national languages are not English, or the first language that they spoke was not English, and we're able to talk here. And not only that, but I remember there was someone who was talking with me in my chat one time, and they were speaking to me in French, and I was like, I don't really understand French, but I think I get. Tried to take a guess, and they were like, oh, sorry, my translator was on the wrong language. I was talking to a French streamer before, and so this person was from a non-English speaking background, but I don't remember what language background they were, but they access streams through like online translators and things like that. It's just incredible, the stuff that we can do, and just like, obviously I don't believe that there's a possibility for a utopia where we all just understand each other and everything's fine, but like, it's not so much about the getting there, it's about the journey. It's about people caring enough about other people to learn these languages, to learn these cultures, to understand where people are coming from. It's unacceptable in all circumstances, but do you think xenophobia can be more understandable in a former colony than a former colonizer? That's an interesting question, isn't it? It doesn't make it acceptable, but I can see why there might be some aversion. Although I think a lot of times immigration happens in different contexts now. Like, I mean, there's one thing when you've got the forced, like, invasion of your country by another country. But then there's also the immigration where people are trickling in from different places. And I feel like that's not the same thing, but I can understand why people might feel like it's similar. It's just a tough one, isn't it? You can definitely see why it might be a closer gut reaction for some people. But I think too often it just gets used as an excuse, which is disappointing. The significance of language is really interesting to me because it's something my education completely skipped. Oh, that's such a shame. Boo. English was my second/third language since I was around 9 or 10. It feels weird to literally think in it after almost 20 years of learning it and using it. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I think in Chinese sometimes. Like the language that I'm focusing most on is the language that I tend to think in and dream in. I have a lot of dreams in different languages. They're starting to get really weird now that I'm learning I speak 6 languages. I can tell you that. Anyway, I'm going to finish off the stream here. We could probably chat about languages all day. I know that I could. Oh, wait, there's me. Manyfold. Let's go back to... Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit less unpleasant for everyone. But yeah, let's find somebody to raid. Let's see, Oh wait, I hear myself again. Okay, so my sibling's partner is streaming again. So I'm gonna. Their username is really difficult. I don't. So I'm just gonna go to the mute. Okay, I don't think it's muted. Anyway, we're gonna raid that. What happened to Tom the Train? Oh, I'll send you a. Are you on the Discord, Dead Viney? Because I can send you a picture of what happened to it. There's a great picture of it being sliced. So raid this person. Okay, I'll post it on the Discord and the food channel. But yes, thank you so much for joining me here today. I really had a great time talking about language and doing my homework with you all, strangely enough. And I'd love to do it again at some point, if you would also like that. It'll probably happen regardless, knowing me. I'll see you all next time. So honks in chat, everybody, for my sibling's partner playing Spelunky. Enjoy. Ciao, ciao.